Hey, so happy to be back. The response I've got for the last couple episodes has been so great, and I was a little concerned about going into some nerdy places with you guys, but it's apparently what you want. So I'm going to keep doing that. And I like to bring subject matter expertise on this show from different places. Like I said before, we have an ER doctor coming on here pretty soon. I haven't had anybody yet from the world of fitness. So one of the other podcasters here from here at Sticky Paw Studios is Krystyna Lauren, and she has a fantastic podcast. It's Fearless as Fuck podcast. I'm just going to say it out loud. That's what we call it. And it's really good. I got to listen to it. And so many of the themes that she has are so similar to the stuff that I do that immediately, no questions asked, I just hit her up. I said, hey, you got to come on and do my show, because I thought she'd be fantastic, especially since we're talking about fitness. So without any further ado, Krystyna, how great is it? I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm actually really excited to be on the other side here at Sticky Paws.
It is. There's like a lot less that you have to do. I definitely know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I feel a little less like jittered, because every time I'm sitting in that chair, I'm like, oh, okay, here comes the intro. Like, what do I say?
Yeah, that's how I feel right now. I'm extremely jittered. That's exactly how I feel. Way too much Dr. Pepper before we start the show. So many questions I have to have before. So just to can you give a little bit of a background of some of the stuff that you do? You are a competitor.
Yes. So I compete with the WBFF, which is an organization similar to what you would find in normal bodybuilding. People are very, very familiar with NPC, IFBB. WBFF is just another federation. We are a little bit more fitness and fashion driven. So I always tell people who are unfamiliar, it's like a beauty pageant meets fitness. So think like bikini competitors meets like Victoria's Secret fashion show. Like, it's very glam, but it's really cool. So I compete with them. I'm also a personal trainer, online coach, and I'm a hairstylist.
So I've always wondered, you know how in boxing there's the IBF, WBFF, like the WB. I can't remember the different federations, but you can hold several belts at the same time. Do they allow you to do that also in I guess competing? I want to say bodybuilding, but it's not bodybuilding.
Right.
What would you compete? What would you call it?
I mean, it is bodybuilding, essentially, because
okay.
if you saw my prep and somebody who's prep when they are prepping for NPC, it's the same thing.
Okay.
I train just as much. I follow diet plans, the same things, but the bodies just look a little bit different based off aesthetics. WBFF likes a little bit of a softer look all around.
Okay.
And so their parameters are just a little bit different in what they judge. But as far as WBFF, now that I'm a pro in the WBFF, I cannot go compete in another organization, or I will lose my pro status.
Okay.
But if you're not a pro, you can compete in other circuits. So that's kind of how they run there.
Okay, I've always wondered that, if you can hold multiple belts and how that works.
Right.
And so it's not fitness competition, it's actual bodybuilding. Is that what you'd call it?
I mean, I have a hard time with myself using the word bodybuilder, because I've never felt like I was a bodybuilder.
Right.
But
I don't feel like you're a bodybuilder either.
No, but essentially all these women are doing the same things. We're building our bodies for a competition that's based off our physique. So
there's the different titles, just for someone who doesn't know. I saw a physique one, and then there was one for bikini and this different kind of stuff. And then I saw female bodybuilders, and they were like 220 pounds. Like,
right.
But what are the different kind of categories that you can do?
Right. So we don't have a technical bodybuilding category like IFBB does, where it's like insane. Ours go from bikini to fitness to wellness to figure.
Okay, figure. That's the one I was looking for.
Figure, yeah.
Okay.
So they're a little bit bigger, but also they just brought back women's bodybuilding into.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's next level.
Yeah.
So, but I fall into the fitness category. So it's more of a well-rounded athletic physique that's structured from top to bottom, whereas bikini for us is a little bit softer. We still, fitness for my division has, the shoulders, the back, the upper body, and it's, symmetrical all the way down.
Right.
Our bikini girls have less of a built upper body.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Dude, I've always wondered this stuff, because it's very different from me.
And people don't really know too, especially because the WBFF is an organization that's not looked at as closely. So when people hear bodybuilding, they just think it's one not solo thing, but it's just one generic title, and it's so different based off the organization you're competing with.
How do you become a pro? Is it a certain place you have to finish?
So it's different with different organizations. With the WBFF, you have to win your show. Okay. You have to win your division. There's also a very, very small chance that something can happen where the owner of the federation can see the second place winner and think that person needs to be a pro, and they will award them their pro card as well. And that's what happened to me. So I actually felt like that was kind of cool. It was my first show, and I came in second, and they were like, we're going to award the second place winner.
In the military, we call that a battlefield commission.
Really?
Yeah, there's when a flag officer takes an NCO and makes them into an officer. Yeah,
That's
it's a
cool.
similar kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually felt like, even though I didn't win, I was like, wow, the judges obviously made the call for this other girl, but she was like, no, I want her to be a pro too. And I was like, that was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. Okay.
That's what
Wow.
happened.
I'm trying to learn more. Now, I do host a bunch of bikini competitions, but they're not sanctioned by anyone.
Right.
They're just wild as fucking. They're throwing money in the air. And like, I have a few rules. Like, number one, there's no twerking, because I don't want girls who just because they can dance in there. I have like very specific rules when it comes to it.
Right.
But it's just very interesting because a lot of girls who have pro cards come and compete in my competitions, and they explain to me how it's different for them. And when they come in there's competition bikinis. I didn't know what that was until I saw this bejeweled thing come out, and I was like, holy shit, man, that is incredible.
What is this?
Like, how much work goes into that. So that's fantastic. Right. That's fantastic. Yeah, I still want to learn a bunch more about that. You have a podcast, Fearless as Fuck.
I do.
I'm excited. So where did you get the inspiration? I know for me, like I said before, it was intellectual curiosity in the first episode. I saw Roger Penrose, who's a mathematical physicist, talking to Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan didn't understand what he was talking about, but he still got these incredible questions out of him. And it was a fantastic podcast for people talking about quantum mechanics and the origin of consciousness and stuff like that.
Right.
For me, that was my origin. What was your origin for your motivation for doing this?
Oh my gosh. So it just like gets me excited talking about it, because I never actually thought it would come to fruition.
Right.
But in 2019, I was going through probably one of the hardest years of my entire life. I was like,
there's a dude involved.
Definitely a dude involved.
When people, it's always a dude involved. I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely a dude involved. However, I don't like to make, like, when I think about it now, that wasn't the focus of like what made me start diving down the rabbit hole into self-development. That was just the catalyst.
Yeah.
And I really do think that situations and things that are presented to you in your life are presented to you for a reason. And I look back at this now, and that was fucking supposed to happen to me to open up my perspectives in my mind. But back then, I was kind of diving into the online coaching and mentorship, and I was in a really dark place.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to get out of it. And I actually back then felt like I didn't have a voice. I was losing my confidence. I didn't know how to speak. I felt like someone had their hands around my throat. Like I couldn't voice how I really felt or what I really wanted. And I was also kind of confused too. And a podcast always sounded like a really good opportunity to start expressing myself. And at the time, I was doing little like 60-second videos on Instagram to do like motivational talks. And I was like, who wants to hear me talk? But then I started getting really good feedback. So in the back of my mind, I always had this idea. And then 2020 happened, the shutdowns happened. I had a lot of changes in my business, and I started diving more into it, where I was trying to be there for my clients more motivationally. And it just started kind of like growing and growing. And then I had a really, really, really fucking bad breakup. Enter said individual.
Right. Exit.
Yes, exit. And I started wanting to express myself again, because I had all this stuff I wanted to say and talk about that I felt like I could never do before. And I moved into a new apartment, and I was in a yoga class, and I remember thinking like, damn, I really think it's time that I start expressing myself again. And I was walking through the locker room, and I saw that they had actually built a podcast studio.
Amazing.
And I was like, okay.
They're telling you something.
I know. If this isn't a sign, I don't know what is.
Right.
So I started recording and practicing by myself. And then somebody invited me on their podcast here. And I put it off and put it off and put it off. And eventually they like ran into me at the gym. They're like, Krystyna, are you going to get back to my DMs or not? And I'm like, oh, it was Gio. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll come on your podcast.
Right.
And I came here and met everybody, and it just felt right. And the people here like really seemed to believe in me. And I was like, man, maybe I should just do this.
They did that to you too, huh?
Yeah, they did it.
John Orlando just sitting there telling me every day how great I was going to be.
Yeah. And I always had people telling me like, Krystyna, you have stuff to say. Just fucking say it. And I don't know. It just kept showing up. And I'm like, I'm so scared. But inside I really wasn't scared. And people were always telling me I was fucking fearless. Like, you do this and you do that and you just go for it. I'm like, but why do I feel so scared inside? And so that's kind of where it came from. Like, being fearless was kind of a joke. And like that, putting the as fuck on it kind of made it lighthearted. But it started making me realize that you can still do things that you're scared of and be scared at the same time. You just have to work through it.
Sure.
And that started involving all the girls I brought on that were powerful individuals who showed me things about myself, and I showed things about themselves, and kind of like how you were talking, you can go on a podcast and not really understand what someone's talking about, but you get all these downloads.
Right.
So I started really like geeking out on it because I'm like, oh my God, podcasts are my thing now. I'm learning and growing so much just from sitting down and having conversations with individuals. And it just started getting bigger and bigger. And then John was like, Krystyna, don't fucking stop. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to go do it. So, and here it is. And it's become this like, it went from a passion project into something that I'm like feeling is going to be such a big part of my life. And the women who I'm bringing on, I'm starting to connect with so much and network with. And it's been such a cool experience.
That's incredible. So I will tell you one thing you mentioned that resonated with me was that I felt in some cases, and it wasn't that big a deal, and I'm actually kind of ashamed that I cared this much about it, but sometimes there would be a narrative about me, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm never going to let anybody write a narrative about me anymore. I'm going to write my own narrative. And so that's one of the reasons why I did this. And I heard you say the same thing. And the other thing is like somebody told me to go to therapy. And I'm like, nah, fuck that. I'm going to start a podcast. And we're just going to talk on here. But this is going to be my therapy.
Yeah.
This is going to be my therapy every week. But the other thing is I found... So I've done maybe 1,000 interviews on red carpets for, over the last couple, literally 1,000. You can go on YouTube and look and there's these short interviews. And I remember there's a lot of times when I'm interviewing people and they're not vapid, but they seem vapid. They have nothing to say. Like they're just up there. They don't want to be up there talking to me, or there's some influencers who only do interviews if I'm the one who's interviewing them. And I remember thinking, and I can't remember who was telling me this. It might have been Dylan Radigan. It might have been I can't remember who told me, but he's like, there's no bad interviews. It's your job. If it's a bad interview, it's your fault.
That's interesting.
So for me, I was like, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, every single person had a story during childhood, an adolescent story, something that they overcame. Every single person had a heartbreak. Every single person had a broken bone or some kind of injury or something that they overcame and went through. You can pull that out and you find a common human experience. Everyone came from someone. And so when I started doing that and I started seeing that, I don't know if you saw the first episode was the fighter pilot and the playmate. And I kept trying to connect their experiences together. As one is fighting over in Iraq and Afghanistan, the other one she's working at XS. I kept trying to bring their experiences together, and I was able to do that. So that was the other thing that I saw with you is that you were trying to find a common experience. Probably the most common experience for all of us under the age of 60 is social media. I think that is the common experience, to the point to where social media is not a thing. It is part of our lives.
Literally a part of your life.
And I listened to 4 of your podcasts, and you talked about social media a lot in those. And you come to the realization that it's not an ancillary thing anymore, right? Or a fad. It like literally, and it's only going to go in one direction, right? Because as the algorithms get better, then it inculcates its way further and further into your mindset, right? Everything that it's shocking to me, and I'm sure this happened to you before. You say something to your homeboy, and you go look, and there's an advertisement for the thing that you were talking about on your phone.
On the way here, that happened.
Kind of freaks you out. Yeah. You say somebody's name, and then all of a sudden, your ex pops up on your screen. You're like, shut the. You're
like, God damn it!
Stop listening to me. Instagram.
So accurate.
Stop listening to me. So it is getting scarier and scarier. So I listened to that. So what I want to hear is you had a lot of very strong opinions about the way the world is going with reference to social media, and I wanted to have like a debate with you about that because I thought it was the stuff you were talking about was really interesting. So in general, your overall opinions of social media, where it's taking us.
So it's like changed over time, because when I first got on social media, my ex had a really big presence and I did not. And so it was very different to me. And I didn't really see it in a way where it was like about business. I thought it's just whatever. I posted pictures of my coffee and bullshit. But then as I started to grow, I realized that it can give you a platform to reach people for good and not for bad things. And so after that started happening, I never saw social media in a negative light. I saw it as an opportunity and an opportunity to connect. And I'm super into connection. So if you can use it for good, I feel like there's it's an amazing, amazing tool. But I also think that it can have a very negative effect on people's lives if they're not using it for good. If you're using it to distract yourself, or if you're using it to just like pass time and to not face your shit or to be productive, you can get stuck in that negative loop. Just like how if you talk positivity and you talk certain things, it's going to keep showing up for you.
Sure.
If you keep talking negatively and you keep going down that rabbit hole, guess what the fuck's going to show up on your page? So you are going to have a negative experience. Like my Explore page looks completely different now than it did last year.
Interesting.
And it's not because I deleted things. It's not because I hid things or said I'm not interested. It's because of the way I'm talking.
Right. That's why mine's full of cats. I understand now. I didn't gather cats in video games.
That's
I didn't
why.
understand. Yeah, that's
But
what
yeah,
it is.
so I think I just went off on a tangent, but what I was going to go back to was like my overall opinion was what you wanted right on this.
Yeah. I mean, you guys got deep. Like I listened to some of them and you guys got deep about, so one of them was about interpersonal communication, which I love that you guys were having that discussion. And I wanted to bring some science to the discussions that you guys were having.
I would love that because my brain doesn't normally go that direction.
Yeah.
It's more of like the artistic, just, spirituality part of it. So when it comes to mathematics and science and all of that kind of stuff, I always find it very interesting.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about a couple of things. Number one, there's this thing called Dunbar's number. Have you ever heard of Dunbar's number? So there's an anthropologist named, I believe it's Simon Dunbar. Somebody can correct me on that. And he had this idea, basically through looking at the anthropological record, that you can only have 150 cohesive relationships in your brain at one time. So the different 150 relationships you had when you were a senior in high school are different than the 150 that you have now. But once you exceed that number, they become blurs. Like you still remember maybe a janitor from your high school, maybe.
But it's kind of fuzzy.
But it's kind of fuzzy now, right? Because it's almost like with a computer, you have the RAM and the ROM, right? You have the active memory and the passive or the static memory, whatever it's called. Somebody's going to at me on that one too,
right?
Right. You have the hard drive and then you have the processor. That's what I mean to say. And so in this situation, the processor is only keeping up with a certain amount of information, but the hard drive has everything in it, right? And so the way Dunbar's rule works is that basically if you go back and look at through the anthropological record at tribes, it goes to about 150 people. Let's say you have a tribe of about 150. Once it gets to about 250, they split off to two tribes of 125. They go off in different directions. And once those tribes get to 250, then they would split off also because the leader could only control like about that many people.
Okay.
So now if you look at military units today, like my squadron had about 150 people in it. A lot of military units have about 150 people. Most places like an accounting department or in a large company, 150 is about the number. 250 is about the max, 100 somewhere in that area. So what happened was we went from 300,000 years. Just a little background: Australopithecus was the creatures that lived before hominids, and then we had Homo habilis, Homo australis, Homo neanderthalis. And about 300,000 years ago came Homo sapiens. And Homo sapiens were there. There were 5 other types of hominids on the planet, and we killed and ate all of them. Like if you don't believe me, go check your genetics. You'll find that you're all of you who are not from Africa, you're all 2% Neanderthal. Most of you are 2% Neanderthal. So what happened is that happened because we mixed breeded with them, and we literally ate them and killed them out of existence. If you ever think it's strange that there's all these different breeds of horses, there's all these different breeds of dogs, there's all these different breeds of monkeys, there's only one breed of hominid, Homo sapiens, because we killed all the rest of them. So 300 years of Homo sapien evolution, and then all of a sudden we get to the point now where we don't have 150 anymore.
Right.
My tribe's not 150. My tribe is on Instagram. My tribe is literally the entire world. And before, where I might want to date the prettiest girl in my tribe, I now think I can date the prettiest girl in the world. And before, where I might have an idea of intimacy with a certain type of woman, now that's screwed up because I'm watching pornography. You understand? Not, by the way, nothing wrong with pornography. I'm just saying, for some
I know
people,
where you're going with this.
For some reason, it changes the realistic belief about what you can and cannot do. And so now, and by the way, I'm not saying this is bad or good. The discussion of evolutionary psychology is never about what is. It's about, or not about what ought. It's always about what is. So in this situation, that's the reason why we get to this point. And now, for instance, when we talk about, you ever hear people talk about vaccine debate? And I've got the vaccine, but if you don't want to get it, it's whatever. We can have a debate about it. But people always say, well, how come they're not promoting healthy eating, right? Have you ever heard this before?
Yes.
Right. The debate is how come they're not promoting healthy eating? Guess what? That was the debate 10 years ago and 10 years before that and 10 years before that and 10 years before that, the healthy eating debate. And then you say, well, the reason why is because our ancestors were eating sugar, salt, and fat and gorging themselves every time they could. That's essentially what happened. So evolution made us this way. So a lot of times when we're trying to fight things that are evolutionarily in us, it doesn't make any sense. So now we're like, why is it these people feel depressed and body dysmorphia? It's like because they're outside of their 150. You understand what I'm saying? They're looking at everybody wants to date Brad and everyone wants to date Brad and Angelina, and because you can't. Sorry, that's a little dated. I'm sorry, Kim. Everyone wants to date Kim and Kanye now, but now because of that, that's where you get the depression that comes from.
Right. So are you relating this back to probably what I talked about as far as like you can kind of get consumed with so many other downloads from other people that you're just spending time scrolling? It can have a negative effect on your overall outlook on your own personal life.
Yeah, so we have I teach a master program, and we have rule number 5, which is we don't hate on people, we aren't jealous of people, and we understand we're social media producers, but not social media consumers.
Yeah, okay, this is one of my most favorite talked about topics that I've talked about is the consumption versus creation versus consumption thing, and that was something that actually helped me get out of my negative view on social media, because I've gotten in that position before a couple of times for different reasons, different seasons in my life that I was going through. And I really, really had to be conscious of the content I was consuming and the thoughts it was provoking, because it was having a negative effect on my life, which was then having a domino effect on my workplace and on my friendships and on even my view of myself. And it was just because I would open up my phone and look at what I was looking at all the time. Like, why? For what?
And here's the other thing, right? Here's what kind of helped me get out of it. In your situation, do you understand that if you look at objects and things on social media and it makes you feel FOMO, the amount of FOMO that other people feel about you, you're an attractive woman who's in shape and you have a following on social media, and guess what? You're doing what you love. You're not selling insurance. Maybe you are, I don't know. But like, but you know, you're doing, you're not a 9 to 5. You're going to the gym where you love to be, and then you're making a living from that. That's incredible to a lot of people. They're the ones feeling even more FOMO than you are, right? And they're looking at you like, how does she feel FOMO? Last Sunday, in the chair where you're sitting right now, was the 2019 Playmate of the Year, Chantel Monique. And she was telling me and Lenny, she was like, I go on social media and I look at all these perfect people and we're looking at her like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're just like staring at her like, huh?
Because that's reality.
Yeah, it is crazy. It is a reality that everyone feels this sort of level of FOMO and how it gets unhealthy. So what do you think the solution is? Or how did you work through this?
I had to audit my content.
Okay.
I had to, because of course, like, I mean, I'm sure I can go look at her page and be like, I'll be very transparent. There's many times I have body dysmorphia issues.
Right.
There's many times that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough for this or that. I mean, not so much anymore because I've audited myself.
Yeah.
And this is why I do the programs I do for my online coaching clients, where it's mindset training and physical development, because I want girls to understand where I'm at now and where I was, and to look at my page and not be threatened and not be jealous or envious, but look at the content I'm providing as a way to hopefully help them get to that position as well, because I know what it fucking feels like.
Right.
As I'm sure a lot of girls do. What I had to do is, even for people who I liked following, like say there was a girl that was like Playmate of the Year that I was just like in awe of her body and this, that, and the other, and her perfect life and this and whatever. I could want to look at her page, but do I really, if I'm in a bad place, I don't know if I could be seeing that pop up every fucking day.
Right.
So I had to go through the list of people that I follow on social media, even if I still like loved them. If I was in a rough place, I had to mute their stories because I was seeing it every day. Or I was following like some like crazy influencers that live this like super like cushy life, and I was financially not in a good place. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is this supposed to inspire me? Because it's not inspiring me. It's actually making me just like envious. But then I had to like sit back and really think. I'm like, okay, maybe that couple that looks like they have it all together, maybe they really fucking don't.
Well, the problem, so while what you're saying is correct, and the thing that I realized, I remember I used to go to nightclubs when I first moved here, and I was like, oh, so nervous. I'd be on stage somewhere and be like, oh my God, what's going on? And then when I hosted my first event and I'm on stage and I have the microphone and people were coming up, the people who I thought had it all figured out were coming up and asking me questions. And
they don't have it figured out.
Like, nobody has it figured out.
No one has it figured out.
Oh, we're all insecure in here. That was like a big realization for me, right? And so you feel FOMO, but remember, there's a bunch of people who feel FOMO for you. And I started having gratitude for my personal situation, no matter what it is. I live in North America in 2021. I would rather be a homeless person in Santa Monica, California today than the King of England in 1750. Yeah. So like there should be so much gratitude for the situation that we're in. That is interesting that you said though. I had my ex hit me up one time. She goes, hey, nothing personal, but I just muted you on everything. She's like, I don't hate you. I just wanted to let you know this. And then she actually had blocked me at one point. She blocked me and she said, I just want you to let you know I blocked you because I just don't want you to pop up in my feed at all. It's just really hard. And we maintained a friendship. Yeah. We only communicated over Snapchat because we couldn't see pictures. And it was just like, okay, that's totally fine. Like I totally understood that that's what was going on. But that was the only time where I really felt like I needed, because there was one time, I've never blocked anyone that I used to date, but I would mute them occasionally. And I saw that it was interesting. So in a relationship, is that also what you would do? Would that also bring up these feelings? Yeah.
So, I mean, I will just to go back. Gratitude is something that has gotten me through a lot of this kind of stuff. Gratitude for your situation, and what you said is really hit home too, because I also had to realize like I had imposter syndrome a lot during the creation of my.
We were going to talk about that next.
Yeah, so we can hold that, but I had to really think about that and have gratitude for where I was and express that, because people like to see the growth as well.
Yeah.
You're not going to show up perfect every single time, and more people relate to that than they relate to perfectionism. So it's actually, you can actually start owning your shit more when you can start having gratitude for where you're actually at and being honest about that. As far as what you're saying about the muting thing, I tried to be friends with my ex.
Oh Lord.
I tried to like, you know, be okay with it being the way it was, but it was so public, I had to. And then, you know, there was obviously a little bit of disrespect there too. And I tried really hard, but I wound up having to mute it on or block it on everything, because I didn't want to see it popping up anymore.
Right.
And because every time for me, it was like triggering. And when in my particular position, it was related a lot to trauma. So it wasn't just like it was making me upset. It was triggering my trauma responses and post-traumatic stress and all this crap. So I had to mute a lot of the things that were not only based around this person, but that were related to him at all. The gym he works out at, like the people, because it just kept resurfacing shit. And you can't,
the cortisol.
Yeah, you can't heal in the same environment you got sick in.
Oh, so that's a great quote. That's
you
excellent.
Can't. And someone told me that for a long time ago, and I was like, no, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine.
We had a therapist on here 2 weeks ago, and she was talking about, separate off camera. We had a conversation about immersion therapy. Do you know what immersion therapy is?
No.
You're afraid of snakes. They just put you in a room full of snakes for a long time, right? She loves it. She thought it was a great idea.
I mean, it's a really interesting concept.
It is. I'm curious. So this is me. There have been times in my life, it wasn't an ex, but it was, I got picked on a lot in high school. Like
I did too.
Ton. I was the same height I am now, but just imagine me 60 pounds lighter, just with this big weird fucking head and this afro haircut. My mom would never let me cut my hair, and horrible acne. And I used to get made fun of a lot. And then the people who made fun of me, sometimes it's gonna sound crazy, but I'll put like a new PR on the bench press, and I see them above me spotting me. I see in my mind, I see them. I see these motherfuckers up there looking at me, and I'm just like, and I just keep thinking, if I don't push this up, then they're gonna see me not do it. I don't know if that's healthy. I really don't know, but I've been doing that for like whenever I'm trying to go for a personal record, I see that before, like right before, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna fail in front of these people.
It's really interesting because I think I've experienced that as well.
Yeah.
I'm past it now, which is nice. I think I did a lot of therapy. I did a lot of energy work, did a lot of self-development that has like gotten me to that point, and it's a never ending journey. I will say I'm still doing to this moment. I don't think it's not linear. It's never going to stop. But I went from a place of feeling like that where I was like, I'm not going to leave this gym because I shouldn't be the one to have to leave.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I would take boxing lessons because I wanted to beat the fucking shit out of somebody.
Right.
And it was like, that got me through it. But to me, that built me strong. And then after that, I graduated to the point of being like, okay, I need to train my mind. And then I had to like almost allow myself to be a little bit more vulnerable and softer. And in my case, more feminine, to understand what I needed to heal. And it wasn't that like, oh, let me just picture my ex in the audience because I want to do better than them. It didn't become that. I wanted to do better for me because I wanted to rewrite my narrative and not have someone else have control over it. And that softening actually gave me more control and gave me more power. And now I went from that to being like, I could care less what these people, or even because I got bullied too. There was times in my life where I would think back to people, not even ex related, just people in my past. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't let these people see me fail. I have to do this. And I'm like, no, this is fucking my life. This is my story. This is what I want to do. And I'm going to go fucking do it.
I remember thinking like, did I misremember my high school years? And then afterwards, like having people come up and apologize to me at reunions.
I've had apologies too.
Yeah, I just remember, I guess I didn't misremember. I guess that actually was what happened. You know, it is very interesting. So now I have a question. 3 books. The Power of Now. You read that?
No, but it's been recommended to me a couple of different times.
I cannot strongly enough recommend it to you. I don't recommend it to everyone. So some people recommend that book to everyone. And I will tell you that if you give that book to someone who has not suffered enough, it's not going to make any sense to them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people I recommend, they're like, Michael, what the fuck is this woo-woo shit? And then people who have suffered enough, they're like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to be maybe in that same
Correct. So for me, it was after my dad died, and I went my first trip to Iraq and Afghanistan, and then my girlfriend left me while I was there. That's when I read The Power Now. I understood it. If I had read it when I was in college, it wouldn't have made any sense.
It wouldn't have resonated the same way.
Correct. The second book is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson.
I've read that one.
You have,
yes.
right? You like that?
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's hard. You have to keep remembering that you get to choose what you give a fuck about.
Yeah. Well, and also going back to what you just said, I read that at a time where I wasn't digesting it. Like I actually think that I should go back and read it again now.
You should, yeah.
Because I'm going to take a million different things from it.
Mm-hmm. And A New Earth, which is the second book by Eckhart Tolle.
What's it called?
A New Earth.
I haven't read that one.
Yeah, A New Earth. Another book I would recommend for you specifically because of the conversations you've had about how social media has changed people is a book called The Coddling of the American Mind by Jonathan Haidt. He also wrote a book called The Happiness Hypothesis. I'd recommend both of those books.
My friend just gave me The Happiness Hypothesis book.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I've had a lot of books handed to me over the last 6 months.
You're about to get 16 more because that's what we do on this podcast. Jonathan Haidt in The Happiness Hypothesis talks about the only things that actually work. It's really strange. He talks about Prozac actually being effective. He talks about cognitive psychotherapy. Yes. And another one that blew my mind is he talked about plastic surgery. And he said that because when they actually surveyed women who had plastic surgery, they showed long-term effects of happiness for a long period of time. Now, obviously, you can go overboard. There's clear signs of people going overboard. But it wasn't like when people got a rhinoplasty, they didn't go back years and like, oh my God, I wish I never got this rhinoplasty.
Oh, I love that I got my rhinoplasty.
I didn't even know you had one. But
fun fact.
Right, but I didn't even know that. But the thing is, I thought that was really interesting. And then they go back into gratitude, Buddhism, stuff like that. And they talk about how people have, and this is another thing that's really interesting, is from a genetic level, some people are just happy. Yes. They're just happy. And some people are just grouchy, right? And also when you took somebody who became a paraplegic out of nowhere, you see this huge drop in happiness, and then they come back up to where their baseline was before they were paraplegic. When you see somebody win the lottery, you see this huge buildup of happiness, and then it comes right back down exactly where they were before they won the lottery. They said that there's just a base level of happiness from people from a genetic and hormonal reason, which was also very shocking. Also very shocking to me. But the other thing was that you can change this over time by, again, gratitude. Gratitude, the thing is, so the power of now is about now. It's about present moment awareness. And the thing that always brings you into the now is gratitude. You can't be grateful in the future. You can only be grateful now. You can't be grateful in the past. You can only be grateful now. You can be grateful for the past, but you can't be grateful you can't be grateful in any other time except for right now. So that I thought that was really, really, really great. But yeah, again, the coddling of the American mind. Sorry, I was going over that before. It basically goes over the idea that in 2007, when the Facebook app first got on the iPhone, that's what changed children. They started being able to, like, I remember in my age, I don't know how old you are, but when I was growing up, we would get into schoolyard fights all the time when people would talk shit about each other. That's what we did. We didn't have a Twitter. We wouldn't make burner accounts and like make fun of each other. And now we have that age group. They come up, and then all of a sudden they stop Socratic debate on college campuses. They start that you have this outrage culture that happens, and then that outrage culture sort of permeates into a culture of hate online
quickly.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I finally got my first hate messages on YouTube, and they're great. I was so happy. By the way, shout out to the haters. Welcome to the Michael Sartain podcast. We're happy to have you here. I'm excited to have you. But the thing is, like, their opinions can't. It's not that they don't matter; they can't matter. Like, here's the thing.
I remember getting my first hate message. It affected me way different than it would now.
Yeah,
I got a bad one back in my early 20s, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. I can remember.
But they touched the nerve. They hit a nerve.
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
So many. And I was only 23. I'm 33 now. This is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget it because it showed me so much about like how I perceived what somebody thought of me. And this was before like I was even like on social media. This was on MySpace.
Yeah, good old MySpace. Good old MySpace. It was in my top 16.
It was like a random guy from across the country that wanted to tell me how he really felt about the way I looked and the things I was trying to accomplish. And what's interesting, it was back then that I was doing like, this is so weird because I just filmed a YouTube documentary series about the show I just did. It's not out yet, but back then I was really trying to be an NFL cheerleader, and I have histories of dance I would try out every year. Yeah. And I did like I Want to Be a Charger Girl like journey little mini vlog series, which I thought was so cool. And it's weird looking back.
You're a Chargers fan?
I lived in San Diego.
Oh, they have one. That's good to know.
I know. But I really wanted to do it, and I wanted to inspire people, so I would write about my experience, which is weird because this is kind of what I'm doing now as a career. But this fucking random guy sent me this terrible message. Yeah. And it broke my fucking heart. And I'm like, how could somebody go out of their way to write something so fucking negative? But now when someone leaves me a negative comment, I'm like, really?
So the thing is, your podcast is thought provoking, and a lot of times you ask the question you just asked. how could somebody write something like that? And my whole thing is, being a former military officer, I always want to know the answer, and not the rhetorical answer, the actual answer.
I want to know what was hurting them so bad that they had to project on me.
You got to the first part, hurt people. That is the first part. And the second thing is, like, again, neurological disorders that cause people to have these problems, and PTSD. And there's something fucked up about all
I could have
this.
triggered something within them. There's so many different things.
If you've ever dealt with a hardcore narcissist or a sociopath, one of the things, I have a feeling we're going to get to that point here later, but if you've ever dealt with one, or somebody with borderline personality disorder, one of the things that you can't do is want revenge. And I'll tell you why. Because their existence is miserable. There is no matter what kind of facade that they give you. Just think about, like, for instance, I rescue cats. I love the cats that I have, but in order for me to love them, there needs to be the ability for me to have oxytocin and serotonin and proper neurochemicals in my brain that allow me to feel empathy.
Love and
Correct. That allow that. But it's almost like if you're a sociopath, it's like having an amputated arm, being like, raise your arm. It doesn't exist. There is no arm.
Numb.
There is no empathy, right? There is no, the neurochemical capability for empathy does not exist. And so because of that, this person, that feeling that you get when you hold a newborn baby, or that I have when I rescue an animal, or that I have with people that I love, that I'm friends with, or family members, they're not capable of anything. Remember, when you're with a narcissist, it's not that he didn't love you. He didn't love his mom. He didn't love his cat. He's never loved anything. In fact, he is so incapable of love, he doesn't even know what it is. And when he hears you and other people talk about love, he feels like he's making it up. But he also feels like, narcissists are never uncomfortable. They feel like we're all just making it up. One time I had a guy who I'm pretty sure was a psychopath. This guy had a relationship situation. I won't go into the details of it, but he was married, and that maybe he had some kids. And the guy and this girl asked me about him. She said, "Hey, what do you know about this dude so and so?" And I go, "Well, yeah, he's a really great guy. He's got wife and kids. I know him. He's I've known him for a long time. Whatever." The dude calls me up and he goes, "Hey, man, why are you telling these random women about my wife and kids, bro? I thought we're all playing the same game." I was like, yeah. So do you understand? But hold on a second. That's all burglars lock their doors. Narcissists don't realize that they aren't even capable they don't even believe you feel empathy. They aren't aware that they aren't aware of anything that you feel.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you're like, oh, I want revenge on this narcissist, you have to remember, you didn't grow up with a brain filled with torment. So I never try to get back at these people, because you're never going to win, because they don't feel shame or remorse to begin with. Yeah. And you just be grateful that I have the capacity to love someone. Yes, right? As 100%. As opposed to no capacity to love anyone, even though they won, they got you on one, right? They fucked you over on one. I'm talking about here, my situation. Even though they won, they got you on this one. The reality of the situation is they have to go the rest of their life with the incapability of feeling like a true connection with anyone, and constant paranoia and
that in itself
insecurity for the rest of their life. So they have to live in that prison for the rest of their life, while you at least have the capability of loving someone. So when you realize that, it's like, okay, you know what? There's nothing that I could do revenge-wise that is going to equal the hell they have to go through every day. 100%.
And I'm sure, and I talk to a lot of females now, more so than ever. And I've heard a lot of stories. And, a lot of people come to me to ask advice on these topics. And one of the first things they always tell me is, like, they want to get back at this person so bad because they're so hurt. And I tell them, like, there's nothing you can do that's going to take that away, that pain away. And nothing you do is going to make it better or make them upset more. The best thing that you can do is go no contact and move on.
Trying to get revenge on someone who doesn't feel shame. Do you also see?
Oh my God, you're literally keeping yourself in a fucking hamster wheel.
It's not even the hamster wheel. Like, there's no floor for these people.
That's true.
There's no level they won't sink to, but there is a level you won't. Yes. And so that's the reason why. Like, they'll call your bluff. So I always recommend it. If you stub your toe on a brick wall and you go kick the brick wall and hurt your toe even more, that is the equivalent to trying to getting revenge on a sociopath. There's just no point. They're a brick wall. Like, you may have stubbed your toe, but you get to walk away. The brick wall is stuck there forever. And that's essentially what it's like when you deal with someone who has one of these neurological disorders, and then they come after you. And then there's just normal people who are just unhappy and hurt also. Right. And they have to deal with their hurt, and then they come at you on social media. But where does this come from? Again, another book I recommend. You got some homework.
I know, sounds like it.
is a great book called The Evolution of Desire by Dr. David Buss, and he talks about this thing called mate guarding. There's this thing in evolutionary theory called mate guarding, and basically what it is there are ways that men try to defeat other men in order for higher sexual selection, and women do the same thing. And one of the things that women do, and sometimes men, is just talk shit about each other. Well, again, the idea of a woman calling another, but again, it's women calling women sluts, to me, in my experience, more than it is men. And and I hear that, it is because she is trying to say, you should not pick her over me. This woman is a slut, right? And so we use pejoratives like that. That is one of the ways for mate guarding. Another way of mate guarding is, have you ever seen a guy, they get into a relationship with you and now, I don't want you to go out anymore. I don't want you to post those pictures anymore. I don't want you to go to that party anymore. I don't need you going out with that photographer anymore. This is another type of physical mate guarding. Do you understand? But we understand it comes from evolution, because when the guy who didn't do the mate guarding, he ended up raising someone else's kid. And the woman who didn't try to get the higher sexual selection, because I know this is a really weird example, but if you ever see like a group of women that go out sometimes, like a bachelorette party, the prettiest one is never the hater. It's never. It's like the second prettiest one.
That's why I always like when I see girls who are like, I'm a girl's girl. I love being friends with girls. I love pretty girls. I love talking to pretty girls and like gassing each other up. Like when I see a girl who's hating on someone for no reason, I'm like, dude, like really?
But again, again, while you say that, the reason why is if there's a group of girls and I know I'm the second or third most attractive girl, or I'm the second or third most high status male in this group, I can't allow the status quo, because the guy who's the most attractive is going to get every girl. The girl who's the most attractive is going to get every guy. So that's why you hear the girls like, no, she's coming home with me, or the dude who's like talking shit about his buddy. It's a mate guarding sexual selection strategy that comes from evolutionary psychology. That's why it happens. It's also why it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
That's also why unhealthy eating will never go away. That's also why men will look at attractive women and women will look at attractive men. That's why that's what will never go away. When anything is pervasive amongst Homo sapiens, it has to exist somewhere in evolution. And that's the reason why these people act the way they do.
Right. What I try and what I'd like more women to experience, though, is if they're in that position where they're with a group of females and they don't feel like they're the best looking girl and it's actually getting to them and they're becoming this like negative person, what they need to realize is if they can like fix that inside of them, they're going to show up prettier.
Okay.
No one likes the mean girl. No one likes the girl in the corner fucking like mad dogging people and not having a good time.
Right.
Like I'm always drawn to the person, even if it's a guy, even if it's like not the most attractive man in the group, if they are confident and they're like having a good time and they're social and they're not showing any sign of what's the word I'm looking for? Any sign of just like of not being a confident man.
Right.
I'm going to be more attracted to them because of their aura and the way they're showing up.
Sure.
Which could potentially even wind up showing up quicker for me than the most attractive person, because maybe the most attractive person's a douchebag.
So it's the confidence.
It's the confidence.
Okay, so now we've gone full circle, because guess who are the most confident acting people?
What's that?
Guess who are some of the most confident acting people in the world?
Some of them not best looking people.
No, the ones with the fucking neurological disorders.
Oh, like, God.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Like if you don't,
well, yeah.
Do you understand? And we've all gotten into this circle before where you meet this just the most eloquent, most charismatic person. I was listening to this. If you guys ever go to Web Circle, it's an incredible YouTube site. There's one professor, one doctor, she talks about sociopathy all the time. And she's like, I've gotten to the point where I deal with so many sociopaths and so many narcissists that when anybody comes up to me and they're the slightest bit charming, I immediately don't trust them.
I'm at that point in my life, but I'm trying to get out of it now, because I also realize that you do close yourself off to people if you automatically think that you have to be on the fucking defense all the time.
Yes.
So I think there's a healthy balance of just being aware.
I just think like, here's the thing. We meet someone and we're just so enthused by that first couple of instances about how physically attractive they are, or the way that they speak to us. And we can't give, I say this to a lot of my clients, don't trust people you've known for a long time. Trust trustworthy people, right? Because people, like, again, I've had this problem where I've trusted someone who I was very close to, and it just turns out, oh no, they were just as corrupt as everyone else, even though that they were close to me. Just going back to the situation though, and I've talked about this in a previous podcast, the worst guy to date is the one who's really good at dating, right? The one who has everything figured out. Like because he's done this shit so many times before.
It's like methodical.
It is methodical. And then you tell your girlfriends, man, he's so confident. Oh my God, when he did all this, it's like he's my special. And it's like, no, man, he's rehearsed this. And by the way, same thing with women. I've had two women.
Like it's like a playbook.
Yes, I've had two women, because I'm sapiosexual. I'm pretty open about that. I've had two women come to me that I've dated before that lied to me about having graduate degrees. They'd straight up said that I've had a master's degree and some.
Why would you lie about that?
Because for me, that is a huge turn on for somebody.
Oh, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, well, that's a very narcissistic thing to do.
Funny that you say that. Funny that you say that. But no, that's one of the issues is like one of the things is sometimes the most charming people that we meet, that is a problem, right? It brings us right into a whole, like for instance, when I had a therapist on here, she started telling me, so she's like, this woman is very healthily put together, and then she keeps getting sucked up to men who are so physically attractive, and it just takes her down the wrong path over and over again. For you, what is the thing, before we get into the specifics of this, whoever your ex is, are there triggers that you find with somebody that immediately get you going? Is it a physical thing?
Because of what I went, or that I'm attracted to?
Yeah.
It's a confidence thing.
Okay.
For
more
sure.
than physical attractiveness.
Yes.
Okay. Here's the reason why I'm asking this. If I were to look at the last 10 guys, I'm just going on a hunch here because you were in the gym a lot, and I find this with a lot of women who go to the gym a lot. If I go back and look at your last 10 exes, am I going to find, probably needle marks in their butt, and I'm saying like fucking.
Just one.
Just one. Okay, that's good. That's what I'm saying.
But I will say that like fitness to me,
yes,
and fitness, that is a part of my life that is not going to go away.
It shouldn't go away.
So do I need somebody who is just as adamant about bodybuilding as I am? Absolutely fucking not. Like, I actually think it'd be nice if they weren't as adamant as me, but I would not date someone who doesn't have the gym as part of their active lifestyle.
Okay.
100% will not.
Got it. Well, that makes sense. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Because I just need that commonality. It's very, very important to me. And I've tried to date people who maybe aren't as into it. And they either start off with the idea that they like how I am, and that's really cool. Mm-hmm. But then when they get into it and they realize like how involved I am, it's like more of a nuisance than anything. And I'm like, okay, I can't deal with this. Like, it's my priority. So you need to understand it's my priority, and vice versa.
Okay.
So that's just something.
Okay. So I'm not saying in your situation. I've just seen before where I have women will tell me about all these problems they have with the guys that they're seeing, and then like most of my friends are females, mm-hmm. and then they show me pictures. I always ask them, show me pictures of like the last 5 guys you dated, and they're all 6'5". They all have fucking neck tattoos, and they're all fucking roided out. And I'm like, oh, I can't. And they all work for. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Thunder from Down Under and Chippendales. No offense, but like they all work at one of those places.
Yeah.
And they're always just, and I'm always like, listen, because those guys are my friends, and I'm like, I love these guys, but I just need to explain to you. You keep telling me one thing, but I'm looking and I see you do something else. That's not what you're saying. You're saying that you have all different types, and looks are not.
I do.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Because I know for some people that's a different attraction trigger. There's another book called Why Women Have Sex by Cindy Meston and David Buss, and they go over 238 reasons why women have sex. And some women are not attracted to men for physical reasons whatsoever, and some women are only attracted to men because they're funny. Some women are only attracted to men because of confidence. Some women are only attracted to men because they're tall. It just depends.
Yeah. See, I can't have sex with somebody who I'm just physically attracted to. That wouldn't do it for me. I have to have some kind of like mental stimulation or connection elsewhere. Or it's just, I'm not into it.
Yeah.
That's just how I've always been that way.
So your trigger is confidence.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever found yourself going down that road before or since where it's like, oh man, this like I'm really attracted to this guy because he's super confident?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm also very wary of how I date now because of what I've been through.
Right.
And I'm also at a place in my life where I'm not super into casual sex.
Of course.
At all. I mean, obviously, like we're all adults here, but I look for connection. Mm-hmm. And I also am so peaceful at this point that I'm like, it's going to take a lot for someone to pull me away from that. They'd have to really contribute to my life in some way. And I do know, especially out here in fucking Vegas, these guys out here are shit. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Men are trash. That was actually the sixth thing we were going to talk about on here. It's right here. Men are trash. I have it written out. I
don't mean that in a rude way. I just haven't found a lot of.
Trust me, they don't care.
They don't give a fuck. That's the thing.
Trust me, they don't care.
I just haven't found somebody to share those like commonalities with, that they're on the same page. That's cool. That's fine. I'm just never going to settle for something that's like.
Let me ask you something. Why do you think, and again, we're going to go back to the science of it, okay? Why do you think that you and probably some women that you know are less interested in casual sex and more interested in finding connection, and you know some dudes that would fuck a pillow, like that just whatever is in front of them? Why do you think the genders are different in that?
I think that's just males and females.
Okay, but that's a word. You're just saying males and females. That's not scientific. Why do you think that is?
Why do I personally think that is?
If you were going to take a guess, when we're going back to that, because the answer is always going to be evolution.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I think that men are looking to like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like to hunt.
Okay.
Essentially, and to capture the flag. Essentially.
Capture the flag. Hashtag capture the flag. Put capture the flag in the comments if you got to this point in the video.
And women are looking for a protector,
Okay.
a provider, which usually comes from like emotions.
Yes.
Like you.
Beginning like emotion. So we're talking. You're using a 2021 word. Where does the emotions come from? Where do you think they come from?
I don't know. Women are nurturers. They want to bear children, which goes back to evolution.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I mean, it all stems back to that.
The thing is, if we understand the evolutionary reasons for it, then we can either move past it or understand how to use it for us, right? Marketers do that to you. Marketers sell you things because they understand evolutionary psychology.
Right.
Whereas whenever you hear a woman like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this. I don't know why he cheated on me. I'm like, go find Michael Sartain because he'll tell you exactly why the fuck he cheated on you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't want to hear this. Like, again, guys, if you're out there and your girlfriend cheated on you, your mother's going to say something to the effect of, oh, you're a special snowflake and
You're special.
you're so special.
Snowflake.
She didn't ready for it, guys. You heard this one. She didn't deserve you.
I've heard that one.
You're too good for her. You're my baby. You're too good for her. Meanwhile, she's out on a fucking yacht or she's on the red carpet at the Maxim party at the Playboy Mansion. She's doing just fine without you.
She's
bro.
in Dubai.
She's in Dubai taking somebody's taking a dump on her chest. Oh, sorry. Can I say that on here? Oh, sorry. My bad.
Travis,
my bad.
bleep it out.
My bad. No, but seriously. So when we go to that, she's fine. Like, that's the reality of the situation. A lot of times when guys get cheated on, I tell them, hey, this is where you fucked up. I'm not saying you deserved anything, but the reality of the situation is that's why this ended up happening. So in this situation, oh gosh, what were we talking about before? I was trying to get to it.
We were.
The evolutionary reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? 50,000 years ago, you as females, you have to be like, for me as a man, if I see you, the information that I need about you being physically attractive, I get in 1 second, right? It's unfortunate. It's the reason why men are shallow, and you notice, and this is not disputable. Men care
is what it is.
Men care more about physical attractiveness, especially in the beginning, than women do. Right?
Right.
Makes sense. And by the way, this is also the same for homosexual men. If you ask homosexual men, they're the same way. They feel the same. Physical attractiveness, way more important in the beginning than it is for women, right? So the information I need, I kind of get it quicker. I don't need to look at your tax reports. I don't need to see your fucking IRS statement. I don't need to see your proof of income. I don't need to see your credit rating. I don't need to know if you own a home. I don't care about your graduate degrees, and I don't care where you work. Right? I see what I like, but pretty quickly, right? I'm just talking general, man. As a woman, you look at me, man, you don't know what the fuck's going on. Right?
I'm like, can I see your therapy receipts?
Correct. Therapy
please?
Receipts. You don't know if I'm a psychopath. You don't, because you care, right? You don't know if I'm broke. How about fake rich, bro? Hashtag fake rich. You go fly on JSX and you try to tell people that you got a private jet. You know what I'm saying? You rented that Lamb. Dude, how many Ferraris and Lamborghinis in South Beach do these people rent?
I was going to say, I just went to Miami for the first time and I'm like, that ain't your car,
that
bro.
Ain't your
like,
car,
or
bro.
yours. Or
that ain't your car. They're fake rich. They're trying so hard. They're trying so hard for you and your female brain that was created through 300,000 years of evolution, more than that, 3 million years of hominid evolution, to trick you. They've adapted this ability to trick you. And it's a book called The Selfish Gene right here, another one by Richard Dawkins called The Red Queen, where they talk about, so I get better at tricking, you get better at figuring out that I'm tricking. Then I get better at tricking, then you get better at figuring out that I'm tricking. Does that make sense? We go back and forth. It's like an arms race. So we get to the point where, like, in your situation, the reason why you have to know this information about me is because as a cave woman, if you end up sleeping with the guy who has entrepreneur written in his fucking bio, and you know the guy, right? He runs the crypto hedge fund, and you know what I'm saying, he works for some MLM, and you know the dude I'm talking about. He's got his daddy's money or whatever in a big ass fake watch. Yeah. That dude, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He tells you about how, anyway, that guy that I meet on stage at Access all the time. Yeah. When you meet that guy, right now, you end up accidentally sleeping with some dude who's a douchebag, and you just move on with your life. But your cave woman ancestor, she died. Mm-hmm. She would fucking die. If she slept with the wrong dude, she'd die because nobody's going to take care of that kid. She slept with the beta male who just ran off. She's dead. So now you, as her ancestor, are like, oh, no, I need to get this right. And so that's why you're more interested in the connection. Does that make sense?
As we evolve, we get more and more interested in it.
Well, not as we evolve. Our great-grandparents, that's the only way they existed. Because if you had a woman who didn't care, if you had two genders that didn't care, like bonobos, they're a species of a monkey that there is no sexual selection whatsoever. They all have sex with each other. Mm-hmm. If you had something like that, then we'd all be living in caves. But like the reality of the situation is one of the two genders is picky, and that's why females are picky. Because again, females have more to lose in that type of situation, and that's why evolution makes it like that. So it's normal. It's That's how you
Right.
should be.
That makes sense.
I see some of my female friends and they're so committed to their man. And I'm like, man, fuck, I wish I could feel like that. Because I'm not going to lie to you. I've been in relationships and my eyes wander because I'm a dude. And just like you was talking about, men are trash. Like you just get into this situation, but I don't fight it. I'm just like, okay, what does evolution teach us? Why is it that we are the way we are?
Just because your eyes wander doesn't mean you have to act on it.
That is correct. You don't. But it's not the cheating, it's the lying. The lying is the problem.
1,000%
Right.
1,000%.
Yes. But you at least are aware that is the differences.
Well, I am now.
Okay, let me ask you another question. Have you had, you don't do bodybuilding, correct? Like you aren't in the bodybuilding category, right?
No.
Okay. Have you ever talked to any of the women who are in the bodybuilding category?
I just know one.
Okay, there was a survey where they were asking women who were in the bodybuilding category, and some of them took supplements, and they took, like boosted their testosterone. Mm-hmm. And what do you think the number one thing that they reported when they boosted their testosterone? These women.
Sex drive.
Okay, but they said their sex drive was insane. Mm-hmm. But their testosterone levels are the same as mine, but they're calling it insane. It's not insane. It's Tuesday. It's just being a dude every day. You have a woman, from a woman's point of view, saying my sex drive is now insane, and you realize, well, this is all the time. This is what dudes are going. Again, I'm not saying it's okay. There's a great book. It's called Why Men Behave Badly by David Buss. There's no excuse for rape culture, patriarchy, or any of this kind of stuff. But the reason why, let's at least understand from a biological and evolutionary standpoint why people act the way they are. It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. But let's understand at least how biology works and not try to deny it. Again, by saying, hey, let's all stop eating shitty food. I'm like, no, man, we came in here, they had some cookies. I ate the fuck out of those cookies.
Yeah.
I didn't eat cookies because someone taught me to eat cookies. I ate cookies because my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather needed carbs to survive. That's why I ate those cookies. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's the only point I was trying to make.
I got you. Yeah, no, I definitely went down a rabbit hole of trying to understand more of just the biology and everything like this, because when you're in a state of depression because of something bad happening to you, you really try and understand it. And it actually, like you said, not that it makes anything right. No one should be disrespectful to another person or manipulative or deceptive, and just don't fucking lie.
Yeah. It sucks when it happens to you, but here's the problem.
But I get what you're saying, and and it's accurate. I just don't like it when people use that as an excuse to manipulate the situation. You know what I mean?
But here's the problem: we don't study it. So, for instance, I'll give you an example.
Right.
We didn't understand what sociopaths were until the 1970s when Ed Kemper and the BTK. Well, BTK was in the 1990s, but like guys like Manson and all this kind of stuff, we were always like, oh, there must be a reason why Ed Berkowitz went and shot all those people in the summer of Sam in 1977, and the reason why is because they had a neurological disorder, right? Mm-hmm. We needed a reason.
Mental health is not studied as much as it
correct because but here's the thing, don't you want to know why though?
Fuck yeah, I want to know why.
So it's a shitty thing and I want to know why, but that's not me giving it an excuse. Mm-hmm. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, is they're like, oh, men act this way because they're trash. Well, if you keep thinking they're trash, you're going to keep attracting trash. Whenever I hear a woman tell me really quick, she's like, hey, I just want to let you know off the bat, I'm not interested. I want a relationship right now and I want babies immediately. You know, my first thought is the last 6 dudes that she went out with said, yes, I'll have a baby with you, had sex with her, and then dipped. That's what I hear when I hear that. Because instead of trying to figure out why we're like this, which is so fascinating, all these books talk about the differences between men and women. Let's talk about why we're like this. When we talk about that it's okay. Like I read a book, The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, and in there's all these notes from meetings with Adolf Hitler, and I love reading about him. I don't want to be Adolf Hitler. I think he's the most horrible human being that ever lived. Mm-hmm. But understanding the mind of a sociopath, why aren't we better off at least knowing what the truth is? Do you understand what I'm saying?
You're right. And I hope you know I was like joking when I say that, because I'd say that very lightheartedly, men are trash, because I don't think that as a whole.
No, it's fine. I have a show on Monday. It's called Men Are Trash.
You're like, but no, you're like, no, they actually are.
Trust me, they don't care. No man is going to sit here.
But to go back to what you said, I have a lot of friends who are saying the same thing, like, oh, men are this and that. I'm like, okay, look at your track record though. Yeah. Why are you dating guys like that?
Yes.
Because you're still dating them.
Yeah.
You're still fucking dating them.
Yeah.
And then the next guy you're still going to date is going to be just like that. But you're going to get mad at it when that's what you're going after. Why don't you start changing the kind of people you're trying to fucking date? Because those people are obviously not ready for you or what you want. So stop going after them.
So let's keep going down the rabbit hole. Why is it? Why is it that they're doing it? Why do they keep going after the same people?
Trauma.
It could be trauma.
Or it's like trauma as in like you recognize that kind of personality because that's the unmet needs of your like inner child wound.
Yes.
And so you start attracting those kind of people because for some reason it helps you deal with something else that you haven't dealt with in your past.
So your ego.
# shadow work.
There you go. Your ego is not there to make you happy.
Exactly.
Your ego is there to create an identity for you. And for some people, that identity is a submissive, weak person who's always a victim. And for some, I've had family members like that. And for some people, that identity is this narcissistic, take over everything, I deserve everything, to the point of like pathological delusion.
Right.
Your identity is just there to create an identity for you. The idea of happiness that we experience now, that didn't even exist 200 years ago.
Right.
We just recently in the 19th century came into this idea of happiness. The idea of you and me picking who we married, that didn't even exist. People read Romeo and Juliet and they're like, oh my God, it's a love story. It's not a fucking love story. The point of the book is how stupid these kids were to get themselves killed because they were told who to marry, and getting married to who you want to get married to is a folly. That was William Shakespeare's point, and we read it today in the 20th century and we're like, oh, well,
we
obviously
just twist and turn it to
we
make
misinterpret
it
to think that it's a love story. It's so crazy. So like this whole thing that we experience, again, we have 100 years of choosing who we marry. We have 20 years, maybe a little less than 20 years of social media, 300,000 years of evolution, and we're trying to compete, and we're just like, oh, you know what? I should act this way because I saw something on social media. Or the reason why men act this way is because social media keeps putting these female figures in front. No, man. We came with a certain amount of programming in us, and then we have certain preferences on top of that. But anyway, sorry, I just keep going down this rabbit hole because I listened to your podcast and I love them so much. And like, there were so many times when you were asking questions, and I was like, I got the answer.
You're like me.
I got the answer. And I can tell you why. I can give you 6 books. And some people don't want that. Some people just want to like keep going down this rabbit hole. Like you said,
but that's when you get in that toxic loop, and that's what I tell people all the time. Like, when are you going to be done talking about this and actually start understanding like why you're experiencing this so you can move forward? Because I was like, Krystyna, how did you get better so quickly? How did this? How did that? Because I was in a really fucked up place.
Right.
I really was. Like, how are you sitting here like this now? And I'm like, because I stopped trying to dive down this path of just being a victim and trying to understand why something happened to me and just understand what I need to do now.
Yeah.
And that literally shot up my growth. And I'm not trying to put myself on the pedestal. That'll shoot up anybody's growth.
For sure.
Anybody's.
And you had gratitude for the situation.
I wake up thankful every fucking day because I am not depressed anymore. And I can't tell you what that's like, because I thought there was going to be, I would have days where I didn't think I was ever going to feel better.
Right.
Ever again. And that was inside my relationship and after.
Yeah.
But I started practicing a lot of gratitude. I started listening to a lot of Joe Dispenza, and I started really trying to like figure out how I can rewire my thought processes so that I can live the best life I possibly can. And it changed everything.
Did you ever have a feeling where like you're kind of in crisis mode for a period of time and then your body just kind of gives up?
Yes.
And
almost a year.
So Jamie Lynn.
It was like fight or flight mode.
Jamie Lynn, who was on here a couple of weeks ago, I was at a party with her and she was telling me this. She's like, your body can only be in crisis mode for so long, and then it just stops being in crisis mode. Like I guess, is it the renal glands that produce cortisol, the stress hormone? You can only produce so much, and then your body physically can't produce any more stress hormone. And then that's when you hit rock bottom and you open up the power of now. It's kind of like when you hit that point. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I didn't actually realize I was experiencing it until like after. Then I started realizing like, oh my God, I've been in this place for so long. And then it became scary because I'm like, how was I operating like this? And I started realizing how much I was like blocking out.
Yeah.
Just to survive, and not survive like physically, but like mentally. Like I was so stagnant because I was so stuck in my own head, and my cortisol levels were through the fucking roof. I couldn't even my coach was like, your body isn't progressing. And this is the reason why you're falling off your preps. This is back in 2019. Because your body is so stressed, but he obviously didn't know what was going on with me.
Yeah.
I wasn't open about talking about those kinds of things. And he's like, we got to figure out what's going on.
No, I told my trainer, I straight up told my trainer, I was like, hey man, I'm just telling you, I'm going through a breakup right now.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to, cause it's hard to eat.
Oh my God.
So I couldn't keep the protein. I couldn't get enough protein.
Well, and also stress makes your body bloat, and it has a lot of inflammation. Inflammation can lead to disease. That's why they say stress kills. It can lead to a lot of like chronic issues. And I was experiencing all of them.
Yeah.
And it was just funny, like not funny, but when you take yourself out of environments, how you can start to get better and you can start to heal yourself from the inside out. And
do you have positive triggers like dogs, ice cream, dubstep, anything like that?
I have lots of them now too, because I mean, I never used to be a morning person. I'm awake every morning to see the sunrise because it is like the best part of my
Really?
day. Mm-hmm. And
I see the sunrise too, but it's not when I'm waking up.
I know. Well, I don't know what it was, but there was something that I started. Actually, it was probably on one of Joe's podcasts. He talks about like how when you're a little kid and you're so excited to go to Disneyland and you can't sleep the night before because you're so fucking excited. And it's not just because of Disneyland. You're excited about this like experience you're going to have the next day because it's so magical and you don't know what you're about to go into, and there's endless possibilities. But as you become an adult, you get so jaded and you're like, oh fuck, tomorrow I have to go to work and my boss is going to be like this and so is going to vent on me and whatever, and you stop looking forward to it. So you don't want to get up. You want to hit snooze a million times just to like stay asleep. But if we can adopt those mentalities that, okay, tomorrow is a new day for something like really exciting to happen, maybe we can start rewiring it. And he goes on and on about it. I'd probably butcher it trying to like regurgitate what he says, but something hit home for me, and I started practicing gratitude in the morning and waking up at sunrise and feeling like those quiet, still magical moments and wanting to change my life. And now it's like clockwork every morning. And so sunrises make me so happy. There's certain songs that make me happy. Like, I don't know, like there's very small random things, like very colorful things. I don't know. I also started microdosing mushrooms, which really helped me. It's completely different down the rabbit hole, not the rabbit hole altogether, but that also kind of helped open my mind this last year.
Shout out to the FDA.
So my friend actually told me about like the effects.
I've heard so many people talk to me about this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a study.
I'd say I've never smoked a cigarette. I've never been drunk in my life. So it's
oh my God.
Microdosing mushrooms is a little bit.
It's never enough to get me like high or anything, but it actually helped my depression.
Okay. I've heard that. That's exactly what a friend of mine said. Yes.
That's why I started, because I was on the verge of going down the Xanax rabbit hole and I didn't want to do it. And somebody was like, you should really try this.
So this is something strange because I have clients that are male and female. With my male clients, whenever it's depression, by the way, twice as many women suffer from depression as men. It's about 5% of men and 10% of women.
How do you just have all these facts just like on weird, fucking deck?
I know. I'll give you want to know the trick? The trick is this. Audible, audible.com. And every day you try to go 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 to 1.5 speed. And you go 2.0 speed. Then you go to 2.2. Eventually, I get around 2.7, maybe 2.8. Sometimes if it's a slow reader, it's 3.0. I can get through like 60 books in a year, and I retain information audibly better than I do from reading
Interesting.
So I can get through, the most I've got through is like 63 books in a year. This year I'll probably get through 35 just because I'm doing listening to so much Joe Rogan, which kind of cuts into my audiobook time. But that's essentially how it
Gotcha.
is. Anyway, that is in... I want to say Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters by Satoshi Kanazawa and David Allen. That's where they talk about the depression rates in men and women. So when I have a male client who's depressed, there actually are really straightforward things I can tell them to do, like throw a football.
To actually like get that serotonin back.
Correct.
And like start.
Right. So for me, people ask about meditation, and one of the things, so this is really important to understand, those of you who are like big into meditation or whatever. Meditation does not need an instructor. You do not require sage. You do not have to have Lululemon pants on. There doesn't need to be.
It does make it more comfy, though.
It does not need to be a motherfucker with a hair bun saying namaste at the end. None of this is necessary. There's not a sanctioned meditation advisor. All of that is bullshit. If you guys want to hear about meditation, you should listen to Eckhart Tolle talk about it. He laughs at people for like all this crazy type of meditation. I meditate. Call me out if you think I'm wrong. I meditate by shooting 3-pointers in a gym by myself. That is how I meditate.
It's
my mind and body,
everyone.
my mind and body have to be in balance for me to put the ball in the basket at 23 feet 9 inches. That is my meditation. Other people, they have different types of meditation. But for me, meditation is about present moment awareness. When the basketball is in my hand, I'll tell you this. Ready? When I die, this is going to be on my tombstone. It is physiologically impossible to be depressed with a basketball in your hand. It's true. Don't believe me? Go try it. Tell me if it's possible. It's not possible to be depressed while playing basketball. It's not. So that for me is a type of meditation. But for men, it's very easy. Or, you know what, the other thing I can do is hormone therapy. I can tell them to go get TRT or something like that and go, oh, well, I had a buddy of mine, his test was at 200. This guy's 20-something years old. His test was down at 200, like he was a 70-year-old man.
Damn.
Morbidly overweight. Estrogen levels are like in the 600s, like super high, right? He went and got TRT done. He's like, the guy's happier. He's more focused. He feels like he's 19 years old again. There's easy things. For women, sometimes it's harder because I don't know. It's like, go to the gym. Okay, that one I can do. Go to the gym. That one I can do. I was like, all right, let's go play basketball. I I'm not really sure if I want to go play basketball. It's like, it's a little different. I was like, hey, you know what? Grand Theft Auto 6 just came out. Let's go play.
Yeah.
I'm not really feeling that. So it's a little bit different. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. I think you have to find something that makes you feel alive again.
Yes.
Or even if it's something small, like somebody once told me, like, go back to the basics.
There you
go back, like take a walk in nature.
Okay.
Like find something that you find is beautiful and go do more of that.
Maybe that's what it is.
Go
Maybe that's what I'm missing.
go buy something in your favorite color. Like really back to the basics. If it's like that, if it's that much of a struggle that you don't know what makes you happy, go buy yourself some flowers. Like it won't work for everyone. That's for sure. Somebody can hear me like, that's fucking stupid. That's not going to work. But for me, it was small stuff like that. I would go to Trader Joe's, like on my shopping day, I'd buy myself flowers, put in my house. Yeah. Something about seeing that made me really happy. Like go pet a fucking dog. Like, I don't know.
How about a book or TV series? Has that ever gotten you out of a funk?
No.
No? Really?
It's like too much of it actually.
Really?
For me, it doesn't. Yeah, no.
I find that with a TV series, with a book series, like a great book series, like the Century Trilogy or like Tom Clancy novels or A Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones novels.
Yeah.
I remember reading a Game of Thrones, like the actual books, and just not being depressed. Every day was a page turner. Couldn't wait to get, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever.
I think I'm more like a physical activity kind of person. Like that, like being sedentary in my mindset when I'm like that.
I'm shooting free throws. Listen to Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh, and Audible. Oh yeah, Audible. I guess that's true.
Yeah.
For me, it was a gym. Boxing helped.
Yeah, for sure.
Just being out on like the lake or like something in nature for sure.
Beautiful.
But yes, like it had to be something physical.
Topics that you talked about before. One I thought was interesting: instant gratification. Mm-hmm. People looking for instant gratification. Yeah. What do you think that comes from?
They don't want to face what they're actually like needing to face.
Okay.
So something that is instantly gratifying is going to be an ego boost.
Are we talking about like social media or what are you talking about?
I think dating? I think I just went down the dating rabbit hole on accident.
Yeah, no, I think dating was where I was kind of going with this. Yes.
I think it soothes the ego a little bit, for sure. Mm-hmm. And it's a little tricky now because like we were talking about earlier, people are so accessible. You feel like you have access to so many different things. Yes. So it's very easy to be like, okay, well, I don't like this thing about this person, let's go find somebody else.
No, but like literally that's what OnlyFans is now, right? I don't like this thing in my life. Let me go have access to this girl. You know what OnlyFans is really doing? They give you access to people that like you think you have this level of access to them that you don't have. Like I have several friends that are on there and they tell me about the DMs that they get and like how some of these dudes are blown away that they're talking to these girls, even though sorry guys, you're talking to a fucking account agent.
But it soothes their ego. Like I think a lot of people are just lonely. Yeah. Too. Like I have a friend who's like, yeah, one of my subscribers is like this lonely guy who knows he's not a good looking person. He's like, I don't get to talk to people like you. And she's like, I just talk to him. He just wants to talk.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
For sure.
But even with dating apps and things like that, I think that sometimes it's a distraction from reality.
Yeah.
Because it's either that route or like maybe you don't want to face the things that you need to face in your life to be better for your own relationships. You're like, fuck it. I'll just like go find somebody else who I don't have to deal with this with.
Fuck you. I'm not getting in the gym.
Yeah.
I'll go find somebody else.
Or until they figure out that I'm not actually dealing with my shit and also go find another one. So they never actually heal what they need to heal to be a better person. I personally will never be on a dating app ever again.
Okay.
Ever. But that's just my personal opinion.
No, I could definitely see that. I find them to be next to useless. So
I think it's a waste of fucking time. I'd rather meet somebody organically.
I think they're interesting, but
they're interesting. But my friend's like, Krystyna, what? Don't you want to meet somebody? I'm like, yeah, I'll stumble upon the person I'm supposed to meet. I am not going to find my soulmate on a dating app.
I am going to invite you to some charity events. Oh, dear God. There, I'm going to stand up and be like, have you guys met my extremely single friend, Krystyna? Have you guys met my extremely single friend, Krystyna?
As she's running for the door.
Yeah, I haven't drank that much. Instant gratification I thought was interesting. This is a note that I came up with because you guys were talking about, you had a gentleman who was sitting here, I forgot what the name was.
Christian?
Yeah, Christian. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about people talking shit about him behind his back because he came out about his sexuality. And I was just thought passive-aggressive behavior, right? Mm-hmm. Passive-aggressive behavior. People not wanting to confront you about things that they have a problem with and then you find out about later, either in relationships or people that you work with. Is this an issue?
Yes. I think that in relationships, maybe people aren't comfortable being fully honest about how they feel. And they either don't want to hurt someone's feelings or they're suppressing how they really feel. So they're not ready to face it. So they go do other things and they become passive aggressive about it.
It's not the cheating, it's the lying. And the thing you just said is the reason why the lying happens.
Right. And I mean, that's how I personally found situations in my past, and that's how I'm looking at them now. Like this particular person couldn't face their own reality, so they would go do things and then make me feel bad for it.
Yeah.
When in reality,
that's gaslighting. That's
gaslighting 101.
That's a completely different thing.
Yeah. That's got a big course.
That is part of passive aggressive
because
behavior.
that winds up
or keeping score, right?
Yeah.
Keeping score. Like all of a sudden I'm losing this argument, so I'm going to bring up this time that you flirted with this girl in front of me.
Yeah, it's because you're losing. You're starting to like lose
Correct.
grips. You're like, well, remember this one time that you did this? That's why I did this. And it's it's so childish.
I have 2 rules with somebody I start dating. Close. Well, I have more than 2, but the main ones are: you can always ask me how I feel. You can never tell me. You can always ask me how I feel. You can't tell me that I'm in love with someone and I don't love you. You can't tell me I don't love you.
Yes.
You can't tell me any of those things. You can ask me, but you can never tell me about the way I feel. And then the other one is shit, I forgot. Oh yeah, you can't save it for later. I was like, if you're mad at me, you have to tell me now. You have to tell me right now that you're mad at me.
Bottle it up.
You can't bottle it up. Man, I one time me and this one girl broke up. 2 years later, I get letters from her about how I act with my family.
Oh my goodness.
It was incredible. And I was just like, to me, I was like, no matter what's going on in my life, I could be dead. I'm not in your life anymore. The fact that you bottle this up is such a clear sign of passive aggressive behavior that it's like, in codependency, it's like, why wouldn't you take this time and this effort to go seek therapy? Who cares about me? I'm not in your life anymore. The fact that you even write this letter, and I felt such concern, and me saying that back to her was just going to make her more mad, so I avoided it. But the thing is, when you avoid confrontation, you create conflict.
Yes.
Passive aggressive behavior causes you to avoid confrontation, and then that's why you end up in this situation.
Yeah.
So now you're not really sure about the situation, so you bottle it up, and then you start acting weird. He starts acting weird, and then you tell your friends about how needy he is, but you don't tell him how needy he is, and he keeps acting more needy, and then he gets jealous. He goes through your fucking phone, and you end up going and cheating on him, but you did it because he was acting weird, but he was acting weird because you didn't talk to him about it, and that's essentially what happens with passive aggressive behavior.
Or with narcissism, when you do actually approach somebody with your emotions and they say, I don't want to deal with this, or I don't want to talk about this, or we'll talk about it later, but they won't let you. So you wind up keeping it in.
That's exactly right.
And their response is like, I don't want to go back and rehash this. And you're like, well, we never actually hashed this out to begin with because you are denying my emotions and telling me how I feel kind of thing. So it's just run away from those fucking kinds of relationships because they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like when we did the show here, we tried to determine, is this person bipolar? Is this person narcissist? Is this person a psychopath? And the reality situation is, whenever you're dealing with somebody who's going to gaslight you or not take responsibility for something that they do wrong. Martha Stout, she wrote the Sociopath Next Door.
I have that on my coffee table.
Yeah, it's a really good book. We should review. Read the second one. It's called Conquering the Sociopath Next Door. I actually think it's better. When you deal with that situation, I forgot what I was going to talk about. Talk about Martha Stout for a second.
Gaslighting.
Yes. When you deal with somebody who does that to you, you have 3 instances of that. Martha Stout says, get out of the relationship. It doesn't make any difference if they're a borderline sociopath. Don't worry about it. Just leave, because that type of individual, anyone who's going to lie to you pathologically or show several signs of no empathy, that person has no place in your life as an empathetic person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's just dangerous for them to be in my life and to just like suck the life out of me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's hard too, because some people don't know what those kinds of tendencies are, and they don't know. I mean, I never knew what those were before. So when you experience it for the first time, I think you get lost in the sauce, and that's gaslighting. You get so confused, you don't even know what is up from down. Yeah. And so
do you spend most of your time on IG or TikTok? Do you do anything on TikTok?
I do, yeah.
What is TikTok like for you?
As far as like,
do you ever get suspended for no fucking reason on TikTok?
Oh my, that's what I was gonna say. Like every other day, like I think what happens though is with their algorithm, like if you get flagged for something, it starts putting like a watch on you, and so now like every time I post like a body update in a bikini, like not even doing anything sexual or anything, I'd get fucking flagged, and then I'd be put on timeout for a week. I'm finally not on timeout anymore. But it's frustrating because TikTok is a big help for me on how to grow on social media.
Is it?
Yeah.
Does it grow on TikTok, or does it grow you on Instagram?
It grows on TikTok, which then grows me on Instagram.
Really?
So
Okay.
go follow. But yeah, I can't. I mean, it's bothersome to me because I'm like, okay, I can go on there and see all these girls like doing these like, or guys too, posting very sexual innuendos or like twerking with their ass cheeks in the fucking camera, but I can't post a video of me posing in my bikini.
Do you know why? Because you have curves. That's why.
No. These girls do too, and they're sometimes like probably under 18.
Then they haven't got to them yet, because or it might be because. So I've said this before, and I'm telling you, bring somebody down here from IG to debate me. You are not offensive because you wore a bikini. You're not offensive because you were posing. You are offensive because you're attractive.
That's interesting.
You are offensive because you're attractive. That's it. In Instagram.
Who the fuck's reporting me?
Well, why else would they report? When you say that there's other women with curves not getting reported, it's because nobody cares about them, right? You ever see those IG accounts where girls are like acting super slutty, but they don't have enough followers for IG to even care enough. But then you see a girl with like a huge amount of followers and she gets her. There's like this middle class where you're getting reported all the time. And then once you get to the top and you get the blue check mark, now you're like, you know, Kylie Jenner, and you can just, you know, wear sheer and then nobody reports you for anything, right? So it's the same type of situation. I think it's interesting. I knew that you had been taken down from TikTok and I've never seen your TikTok. Isn't that funny?
That's funny.
Because my hypothesis was you are offensive because you're attractive. I thought that's my hypothesis. And so far, my hypothesis has not been wrong one time. Every single time I meet an attractive woman who's attractive, who's not doing anything salacious on TikTok, every single one of them gets their TikTok suspended. That is not an accident. It's interesting, but that's the thing. That's the problem. You are threatening, and here's the other problem. When you are on IG and you post something, you get interactions and you don't have to pay for them. But Ford does. Mercedes does, right? Even Brazzers and OnlyFans, who they're on fucking Instagram, they do. They have to pay for interactions, but you don't. Your value comes with the fact that you're physically attractive, and so because of that, you hurt their platform. But how'd they build their platform? Off of you. Right. And now they're shitting on you because, sorry, shout out to people in Dubai. Now they're doing that because, why? Because they used you to grow the platform. And now that they've grown the platform, they're like, okay, now we're gonna back off. We want to make this better for sponsors. OnlyFans tried to do that shit. It was so crazy to me. Here's what I think happened with OnlyFans. You know, where they were saying we're not going to have any more porn on there anymore. What I think happened is probably their underwriter, whatever bank was going to take them public, probably said, hey, listen, there's no publicly traded pornography stock, so we don't want you to be the first. We need you to take that off there. They said, okay, we'll do that. And then once the underwriter saw all the memes and all the people going crazy and the drop in revenue, when that happened, they probably said, okay, $1 billion? Okay, we'll handle porn for $1 billion. So nobody's ever explained porn to an investment bank with the B word in it. And as soon as that happened, that's the first time, because Brazzers is not $1 billion company, but OnlyFans is. And so when that happened, I think that's when the whoever, and I could look up the underwriters, probably JP Morgan or something like that. They probably were like, oh shit. Yeah. My bad. Our bad.
Let's you know what I'm saying? Take this back.
Jamie Dimon is like, wait, what? How many billion? Okay, we'll fucking deal it. So I think that's essentially what happened. But yeah, it just goes back to what you're saying. Like, you aren't offensive because, this is my theory. Okay, somebody call me out on this. I still haven't seen any proof I have not had anyone disprove my hypothesis. You are not offensive because you are offensive. You're offensive because you're attractive, right? That's what I've seen. But when I see 12-year-old girls out there dancing like this, they're not fully grown, so they don't come across as the same threat as you do to some people. Right. I've also noticed that when I see men acting salacious on there, I don't see that they don't get judged the same way. So just another thing that I've noticed. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the thing is, but it is interesting. I knew you'd been suspended. I've been suspended too several times. Social media producer versus social media consumer. We talked about that before. Right. And also, like, we covered this before, but talking about like having gratitude as opposed to like letting these people run your life or ruin you. Do you understand what I'm saying? There was something that you said before about, there was a girl, again, you had another guest on here who talked about her relationship when she had somebody on. And I remember thinking in my mind, I'm like, social media is not God. Right. We used to go to the church and was, oh man, my daughter has cancer. Let me go pray. Oh, my son is about to play in this big football game. Let's go pray about it. And now what's happened is, oh my God, my wife just cheated on me. Let me do a little Facebook post about it. And I'm like, why are you putting a Facebook post about getting cheated on?
Because people want some kind of like
validation. Yes. I get it, but that's not what social media is for.
No, it's not to air your dirty laundry. It's crazy though, because people are like mini celebrities on social media now.
Well, they think they are.
Right. Yeah, but even if not even from an egotistical way, like you're following along with someone's life that you, not even that you idolize. Like say like somebody's following me and that they really liked my lifestyle and they like followed me because like I want to adopt more of Krystyna's lifestyle. Yeah. And not that I'm putting myself at a celebrity status, but to me, I'm somebody who that like they were looking up to. They don't know me personally. Yeah. So that being said, I lost my train of thought with this.
No, I think you are a celebrity. I was going to say this before. You said imposter syndrome. We were going to get to that in a little bit. Like, I host a lot. I met you at a photo shoot, my birthday. I host a lot of photo shoots. There's a lot of girls that come to my photo shoots, and like, God bless them, they're incredible. They don't look like their photos. You look like your photos.
Okay? I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, but the thing I'm trying to say is like, you should not have the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
You are a talented and skilled and accomplished fitness model. It shouldn't matter what I say, but you should not. There are other people who I see should have imposter syndrome. I remember I was hosting the red carpet for the Maxim party one time, and I'm like, how the fuck am I hosting a red carpet for them? It was an accident. Something happened. The guy dropped out. And I'm sitting there and I'm interviewing the Jonas Brothers, Nick Jonas. I'm interviewing Nick Jonas. One time I'm on another red carpet and I'm interviewing Mel Gibson, and I did this one interview with Paris Hilton. And I remember always thinking that some dude in a suit is going to come up with sunglasses, like Mr. Anderson or Mr. Whatever the robot was from fucking the Matrix. He's going to tap me on the shoulder and say, Mr. Sartain, your gig is up. You're not supposed to be here. Obviously, you're not supposed to be interviewing Paris Hilton. Let's go ahead and leave, sir. Let's not make a big fuss about this. You don't deserve to be here. I kept waiting for it to happen. Every time I would do something, I would break through and go to some bigger deal. I always waited for somebody to tap me on the shoulder and be like, no, this is not supposed to happen for you, sir.
Right.
Somebody else is supposed to have this place. Someone more established. You know, I did an ESPYs party one time, and I'm interviewing all my favorite athletes. And I just remember thinking, okay, somebody's going to tap me on the shoulder and be like, no, sir, you don't work for ESPN. It's time for you to go. We're going to have security escort you out. And it never happened, Krystyna. It never happened.
I felt like that sometimes.
Yes, I'm sure.
Even in this studio
correct.
Right here.
And I'm telling you, you don't need to have imposter syndrome. There's really so many people, like you are in the top 1/1000th of 1%. And then there's all these other people who have imposter syndrome. I've been to photo shoots before where like there is no, like there's just some girls that really should not be doing this. And they're just doing this because nobody's telling them anything else. Mm-hmm. And it's just really like, and they don't look like their photos and they just crank it out, which by the way, we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about face app here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, and then I see this and like, you shouldn't have imposter syndrome, right? It's hard for some people, but then I see it and I'm always telling these guys, like that dude who comes and taps you on the shoulder, he never fucking shows up because nobody knows what they're doing.
Yeah, everyone's here just trying to figure it out, and that's what helped me.
Everyone's just as confused as you are. Do you understand what I'm saying? I remember when I went to a party one time, I was at the Playboy Mansion, and I remember when people started asking me where to go, because I was sitting there talking to Crystal Hefner, and I was like, people started asking me where to go. People started asking me how to get in. And I was like, oh, none of you get it. Nobody gets it. All of us are confused. Oh, okay, I feel better now.
Crack the code.
Crack the code. All of us feel the same way.
Yeah, and then if you can learn to like relish in that too, and that's kind of what helped me, because I'm like, I don't need to pretend like I have it all figured out, and I don't need to feel bad that I don't. I should be here. I'm here for a fucking reason.
Yeah.
That's when you can start to grow.
But it's a healthy feeling because it lets me know you're not a narcissist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, and I got very humbled this last year because of things I went through and the things I'm doing now, but just by following like my gut and also like leading from my heart. And that's how you'll know that you're doing the right things, and the right people come into play with that to also provide you with support too when you're doing that. But when you're acting out of a place of authenticity, eventually that person's going to come tap you on the fucking shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, your gig's up. This isn't for you.
I've been telling, hey bro, I got to finish this up.
Like in real life, they're
get the fuck
like,
out. No, I remember one time, like Paris Hilton, she did she was a DJ at Rehab when I was a videographer there. And I was doing an interview with her or whatever. And I remember we were just sitting there hanging out for 3 hours. She's smoking a blunt. She's like passing them. I've never smoked weed before. I'm just sitting there hanging out with her. As 3 hours go by, and I look at her and I'm like, you don't fucking know me. Like your security guard should be in here with you. How you're like top 10 most famous person in the world, and I'm some brown dude from East Dallas. How the fuck has nobody come in here and told me to leave? What's going on? And she texted me, called me later, and I just remember thinking, she's like, yeah, I'm going to Access, like let's hang out. And I just remember thinking, there's something wrong here. Somewhere is right. Somebody needs to tap me on the shoulder and be like, Michael, you need to stop doing this. This is not for you. This is not real. So yeah, I've been in this situation before where it's just like you have that feeling, but just remember, there's nobody there to tell you no. Yeah. There's nobody there to tell you, no, you can't be more successful. Yeah. And then as soon as they do, they put themselves in the wrong position. Does that make sense?
100%.
They put themselves in the position of being the hater, and then they have no credibility, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So let's talk about this. I promise I do want to talk about some positive things. But before we get to that, one of the things going back to social media is not God. Hashtag don't post him. Okay, so here's the thing. Every time I see somebody, I tell the girl, I'm like, I want you to grow your, there'll be a model most of the time. I'll be like, I want you to grow your IG. Don't post me. Like, don't put me on your IG. I'm telling you, it's just going to fucking hurt your IG. And I've heard women be like, no, you're saying that because you want to cheat. And then I've heard women saying like, you're fucking right. I'm not going to post you. I'm trying to like grow an OnlyFans. What do you think about that? about women. Like, again, this is what I'm talking about. Social media is not God.
Yeah. It's really interesting because my ideas of this have changed over time too, because when I got into social media, I was engaged.
Yeah.
I was in a very serious relationship. So
You posted him.
I posted him.
Yeah,
of course,
you did.
And he posted me.
Now, what did you notice after you posted him as far as engagement?
Well, it was different because in the beginning, I really I didn't really have social media.
Okay.
So like I actually grew.
Okay.
And then like very like a big mass follow, not a mass following. I don't have that many followers. I'm really not that cool, but like it grew into something and then it like obviously plateaued. But for him, he would tell me, and it's probably pretty accurate, like back in the day, he never posted girls because it would damage his sales.
Yeah.
Which I agree, it probably does. And you know what? If my business got better when I stopped posting a dude. End of story. It did.
Ladies, don't post him. I'm serious. Like I'm just
here's my other thing though. I do think that there is a little bit of respect that's needed. I mean, but
respect is a real thing.
Yes.
And social media isn't.
Yes. And here's what changed for me now. My idea is if the next boyfriend I have, I'm not fucking posting.
Yeah, for sure. Like here's the thing.
I'm sorry, but not only for that reason, but because my life was so fucking public and I got publicly fucking embarrassed.
Yeah.
And disrespected.
You are moving on to my next point. So what happened was my friend was dating this girl. He's like, hey, I'm not going to post you. Let's not post this. Fuck it. I'm going to tell the truth. It was me. I was seeing somebody. I told her, hey, don't post me, whatever. I want you to grow. And I literally was introducing her photographers constantly, left to right. Her IG grew very quickly, went really well. I said, hey, listen, I know that you and me are in a relationship, but I want you to know, like, you never have to worry about posting me because I want you to grow. And I know you grow. Like, our life has to do with my parents, our families, our friends. This is what's real. This social media shit is not real. Rule number 4. Social media is fake.
It's not real.
Rule number 4. Social media is fake, and I'm okay with that because the money's real. That's the reason why. So I said, don't worry about posting me. Well, anyway, we split up, whatever reason. She starts dating another guy. He posts her constantly. They take pictures together. They do photo shoots together. They do shoots together. He cheats on her 3 weeks into the relationship. She can't leave. She posted him. And I'm sitting there like,
She can still leave.
I mean, she can, but it's just embarrassing. It's like what you said.
Trust me, I get it.
Yeah, but do you understand the problem? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the reason why you post that you're in this relationship is because you want validation from people who don't matter. And you're posting it because your relationship is real and you think you're posting it to social media that you think is real, but it's not. Social media is fake. And when you come to that realization, then you start understanding, I can post that I bought a new car. I don't need to post about my mental disorder. I can post about, I don't need to post about my alcoholism, but I can post about the AA meetings when I get over it. I can post about things that inspire other people. Because here's the thing that you have to understand. Nobody gives a fuck about looking at my brown ass on Instagram. They are only there for me to make them laugh, or to entertain them, or to give them inspiration, or they're curious about some influencer that I'm friends with. Nobody gives a shit. Whenever I'd be with the girl I'm dating, there's always 4 other girls in the photo. I'm never going to do that. There's a huge, well, I don't know if I can say this because there's a huge fitness model that I'm seeing now, like top 10 in the world. And I tell her, don't post me. Don't ever post me because your agency is going to be fucking furious if they find out that we're seeing each other, and it's not going to help your brand. And so I tell her that all the time. And then she's like, oh, fine. And then every once in a while she'll post me on her shit. I'm like, girl, don't do this. This is not good for you. So that's always the situation. So yes, you agree with me, right? I
do. And I didn't agree with this subject a couple of years ago because I didn't understand.
Yeah.
But now I understand.
Because you think those people matter, but they
don't fucking matter.
They don't matter.
They don't matter. And
you're going to find that almost all of the problems come from that. Is you think that these people matter. Because again, the congregation goes to the church and they pray to God because God matters to them. And they tell God their problems. And now they don't go to church. They go on Facebook and Instagram and they have these same problems. So they go on IG story and I tell dudes all this stuff. I'm going to say this right now. Really public service announcement. Gentlemen, if you are a man and you go on Instagram and you write a long post about how your girl cheated on you, whether or not this is true, every woman who reads this, none of them are going to feel, well, they'll feel sorry for you, but they're not going to go out with you because they feel sorry for you. Everyone's going to think you were abusive, you're terrible in bed, you did something wrong. They're going to think that you're fucking, you're needy, you're whatever. Nobody is going to look at this post and be like, man, he deserves better. That's your mom. Your mom is going to do that. Every other girl on social media is going to be like, what's wrong with this guy? Why did this girl just up and leave? When you tell people this weakness, like again, before, like they want to see you fail. You look like you're having some realizations right now. These people, like, again, like real talk. When I do fun, awesome stuff, I share on social media.
Yes.
Okay. Social media is not real. I took
it's a highlight reel.
I'm going to tell you guys, I went to the bathroom this morning. I did not put it on social media. It's not my whole life. It's just the fun parts. It's my cat and the parties and the football and all that shit.
Yeah. But I think there's balance too. Like for me, I show parts of my life that I want my girls who are following me to be potential clients.
To inspire them.
Yes. And yeah, every once in a while I'll go do some fun things, but I don't ever want a girl to look at my page and feel threatened or jealous or envious or feel like I'm bragging or boasting.
Okay. The first three, unfortunately, it's going to happen no matter what you do.
That's out of my control.
Correct.
But all I can do is do my best to put out content that will inspire somebody.
Yes.
Will it piss somebody off? Probably. But you know what? If I triggered you, it's for a reason. Hopefully you can come back and understand that I triggered you to want to be better.
For sure. Like, but before I met you, I thought maybe I could squat more than you. After meeting you, I'm pretty sure I can't. I'm pretty sure I cannot. So I'm inspired to go do leg day. All right, cool. So face app, body dysmorphia, all this kind of stuff. So I'll be honest with you. I use face app whenever somebody's like really slimy, like oily or whatever, or stuff like that. I'll use it. But I've seen people that turn their face. People turn their face into like plaster.
Yeah.
Whole face turns into plaster. And like you said, unrealistic. We don't know who these people are. It's becoming like there's mental health benefits that you talked about in your podcast.
Yeah, well, the girl who does my Botox told me, she was like, there's girls who actually come in the office with pictures of themselves from Face App. Like, I want to look like this. Like, I want to look like this filter. And they're getting younger and younger. She's like, we've had parents come in with their like 18-year-old daughters, 17-year-old daughters. And it's like, oh my God, it breaks my heart because you shouldn't be having to think about those things when you're that young. You know what I mean? And I'm all for making photos the highest quality possible because that's what sells. And I mean, you don't see an unedited photo on a magazine cover.
Right.
So why would I post a photo that's not, the lighting's not touched up or like, whatever, like, hey, I had a pimple, like I'm going to take it off my face, but I'm also showing the reality too. But then you get to the other side of things where people are putting such extravagant filters and like face app filters over themselves. They don't even look like who they actually are anymore. But you can go and warp your nose and your ears and your lips and your eyebrows and like your boobs. And
shout out to Coconut Kitty.
Who's that?
Okay, so I was going to bring this up. There's a girl named Coconut Kitty, and she has very like slim waist. She has breast implants, and very sexual on her IG, and on her face she puts the kid app, the child one.
That's so weird.
So she makes herself look like a 12-year-old face, but she has a grown-up woman's body. She has like
that's like borderline. You're borderline like attracting like pedophiles.
That's correct. That's what the 9 million pedophiles that are following her. That's probably what they're doing. It's insane. So there's people actually calling to try to have her removed from social media.
Very disturbing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, to each his own. I'd never ever want to feel like I'm talking badly about a female because I know what this world is like and I know how people wind up in these situations. But it's fucking concerning. It's very concerning.
So I had Lenny Marie and Chantal Monique on here last week, and they were the ones who brought it up to me initially, and they were like, "You're exploiting children," and it was like funny because there's no single child that you're exploiting, but I do understand you're exploiting certain people's necessity to look for children. But like when you look at this girl, she's like probably in her late 30s, early 40s, and she like on her face, like her jawline goes up and her face becomes like extremely young. And Chantal was showing it to me. Is like, can you believe she does that? I was like, not only can I believe it, I will show you where on Face App she made it. There's
these girls are just probably seeing money signs at this point.
Of course.
So it's they aren't thinking about it at the level that we're discussing it.
Well, that's the other part, right? So what's the repercussion for her? Nothing.
Like
how? Like,
zero.
Seriously, like when you think about some corporate executive, like how many people would you be willing to defraud for $300 million? You get that the company fires you. You get a golden parachute for $300 million. Like, yeah, they're gonna talk some shit about you, but you're gonna have $300 million. Like for a lot of people, like how much would you be? Well, because that's one thing about OnlyFans. Overall, I think OnlyFans is great because it's allowed women to become independent and get away from, in many cases, extortion. Sex trafficking, stuff like that. I know a lot of women that used to be escorts that don't have to do that anymore because of OnlyFans. So in that case, I think it's a good thing. Where I think it's a bad thing is that it's like you take women, like I know this one woman who's like so popular on OF that she can get girls who've never even posed nude to do hardcore guy girl porn. Yes, I'll show you later. She literally, she'll get girls who like never even posed nude before. And she's like, do you want to come on my OF? She's like, you do this one video with me, you'll make 30,000 this month just for me sending you all this traffic. And so a lot of these girls are like, again, never even posed nude before, and they'll go do it because the money on OF it creates a moral hazard for some people to go in that direction. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know one girl, she had never done nudes before. She films one time with her boyfriend. She makes $100,000 in that month. And
Jesus
she's like,
Christ.
she breaks up with the dude, right? She breaks up with the dude. She goes on with her life or whatever. She wants to buy a house. She doesn't want to be with this guy. This guy's been like physically abusive. She doesn't want to film with anyone else. So she gets back with this fucking asshole so she can film, so she can buy a house. And it's just like, man, it's messed up. Or I know one girl, she's probably one of the biggest influencers in the world in there. She was with this one dude, really toxic relationship, but they would film together all the time. Then they broke up. She started dating this other guy, and he's not down to film with her. So she's got to film with somebody. So like he lets her film with her ex. What the fuck, bro? It's crazy. But like, a lot of dudes are out there like, I would never do that, and I'm sure you would never do that, except when she's makes $600,000 a month, and all of a sudden the dynamics of the relationship start to change. And so that's the thing with money. So we go back to it with FaceApp. Like these girls, you keep telling them how unhealthy it is for them to do these things, but then it's like, look at all the money.
It's not going to stop.
It's not going to stop. Goes back to evolutionary psychology is not about what ought to be. It's always about what is. Yeah. And in this situation, it's like these girls are making money and no one's stopping them. There's no oversight body from Instagram. I don't know. There's some country, like in some Norwegian country that's like, hey,
they stopped it.
Yeah, they stopped
is it Norway?
It might have been Norway where you have to put on the thing,
that it was edited.
That it was edited. You cannot represent that it was not edited. You have to put it somewhere in the post legally. And I thought that was really interesting.
It is interesting. And it just goes back to what you were saying, like the same thing with Instagram too. Like there is two sides. Like there could be good things and there could be bad things. Like OnlyFans, you're saying it got girls out of abusive relationships and let them like get out of extortionism and out of sex trafficking and all this stuff. But there's also, girls it's led into staying in toxic relationships because they've been making content with their ex-boyfriend.
Money is never always going to be good.
No, money can be the root of fucking evil.
Money will get you out of the ghetto because you play in the NFL, and then money's going to make you start taking steroids.
Yeah,
money is not always good. Yeah,
right. It's just like social media. You can wind up down a fucking negative rabbit hole, or you can let it launch your career.
Bro, YouTube.
You are in control of what you're doing online.
For sure. At
the end of the day.
YouTube can take you to an incredible place like the Khan Academy. Right now, I'm a money manager, and I learned my first lesson ever about stock options came from the Khan Academy, and then I started working with a stock option brokerage years later. But it started there with that, and then it can also make you think the earth is flat. Mm-hmm. Both things you can get from YouTube, right? It's crazy. You and I are going to be on a platform right now. Well, this is going to go out on Spotify, and it's going to go out on Apple Podcast and YouTube. We're on the same platform that Elon Musk talked to Joe Rogan on. The same one. You
can find whatever you're looking for.
Yes.
If you want to like find something negative, you type it in. Like you want to hear like a negative opinion on OnlyFans, type in, OnlyFans destroys a girl's life on YouTube. You'll find videos. You want to find OnlyFans saved girl from abusive relationship and made her, this, that, and the other. You can find it. You can find whatever you want online.
Yeah.
However you want to feel, you can write that own narrative for your day by searching that. So you are in control at the end of the day. People want to, like, misery loves company kind of thing. Like it can both be used for good and evil.
Okay, cool. I love it.
I hope that made sense.
No, it definitely. That's a double-edged sword. Exactly what I was saying before. Now, here's the thing. We did a show 2 weeks ago about narcissists, psychopaths, people with borderline personality disorder. You said you ended a relationship with someone you believed was a narcissist. Mm-hmm. Now, when I say that word, so when some people say, oh my God, that guy was psycho, that word means something different to me. Mm-hmm. The word psycho literally means antisocial personality disorder, meaning an inability to feel remorse, a complete, like a disregard for the rules, pathological lying, you know what I'm saying? All this kind of stuff that comes from that. Narcissism is very similar. The only thing with narcissism is that sometimes they do feel remorse, but they don't change their behavior because of remorse, have the inability to learn or accept responsibility for their mistakes, and they have this sense of grandiosity. By the way, we talked about this before. Everyone who is a psychopath or sociopath suffers from narcissism, but not the other way around. Mm-hmm. And 40% of people who have borderline personality disorder also suffer from narcissism. You believe that you were dealing with a narcissist. What made you believe that?
Because I felt like all those things you just said.
Okay.
Literally all of them.
So you saw a pathological lying.
Yes.
Did you see grandiosity where they believed things that they deserved, things that they necessarily didn't deserve?
No, I don't think I saw that.
Did you see?
No.
Did you see situations where they gaslit you?
Yes.
Okay, like can you give an example of that?
I wound up in therapy.
Okay.
It was like, me coming across some kind of poor behavior and no accountability being taken for that, or me, like my reality being denied.
Okay.
And it was really happening at the same time. And then I was made out to be the crazy one because it wasn't true. And I was like making shit up, but it was so manipulative and so confusing that I started almost believing that I was crazy.
There you go. That's
gaslighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
I think this is helpful for a lot of people to hear this.
no, I think it is too.
I remember questioning my sanity as well.
Oh, I questioned my sanity for
Like, did I
over
really
a
do this?
year.
I'll tell you one time.
Yeah.
I'm in bed with this girl I used to see, and this guy comes in. The time he's my roommate, and he had a girl in his bed. He's like, dude, what do I do? I have this girl in my bed. I was like, you just go hang out with her, man. Just like talk to her. Just be normal, bro. The fact that you're even like getting this nervous about it is like weird. She tells me the next day, it goes, do you remember when you told so-and-so to go fuck that girl? And I was like, bruh. I looked at her, I go, bruh, I never said that. She goes, yeah, no, that's exactly what you said. I'm sure that's what you said. I'm like, I would never, ever, ever, ever go fucking say somebody. And I told her that. I was like, no, that's definitely what you said. So I hit him up later after we broke up. I hit him up later. I was like, hey, bro, did I say for you to go fuck that girl? And he goes, no, of course not. You would never say that. And I was like, oh, damn. I was sitting there thinking that I was crazy, man. I was sitting there thinking, did I really? Oh, man. I was like crazy. I was like, I would never say something like that.
Yeah.
But so you've had that situation. So
Yes.
you saw the gaslighting. Do you see a common group of friends, or does this friend group change a lot?
It changes.
Substance abuse.
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of these things are, I mean, they could be, but like from narcissism, you should look it up. I would highly recommend.
I did a lot because this is how I got better and understood that I wasn't, because I was getting so bad that I was in therapy for recovery because I kind of had lost sight of who I was because of all the confusion.
Okay.
And I'm also an empathetic person. I want to help.
I can tell.
I want to help people. I will also say this because I'm sure somebody's going to listen to this and know my background, which I don't normally talk about because I don't like to put people under the bus. And I truly, and this is still talking about this, I truly believe this person's a good person and like deep down and just is a wounded.
Then we're not talking about a narcissist then.
I don't know.
Narcissism is a cluster B neurological disorder.
My problem with this is I don't know if this person is like.
I think anecdotally you may believe that, but that's the point of being a narcissist, right? If we didn't think narcissists were good people when we met them, there would be no narcissist.
Yeah, deep down, I think he just has never dealt with his trauma, and it just keeps resurfacing and resurfacing.
Okay.
And hopefully, maybe down the line that will change. But this happened.
I personally, hopefully down the line, you don't think that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's no use in your life for even wondering whether or not he will.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore because I do not have any desire to speak to this person ever again.
Very good.
I've been no contact with this person.
I mean, wish them the best, but if they truly are narcissists, there is no underlying goodness.
Well, and that is why I don't feel the need to exchange any more energy with this person because I've healed and moved on, and I don't need to bring that back into my life. But I also take accountability for my actions where I stayed with this person to try and make things better.
So let me ask you something. In the beginning, were there red flags that you missed that were there, but you just missed them? What were in general? Can you say what some of them were?
Lies.
Small
lies.
Okay.
Just shady behavior.
Okay.
That I would believe excuses for.
Okay.
But that was gaslighting. It's like, oh, this happened because of this.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
They gave you some reasonable excuse.
Yes, and I being who I was just like, okay, well maybe there is a reason. Maybe we need to like work through this. Maybe there's something like underlying.
Was there a level of validation that you were receiving from him that made you overlook these red flags? So what I mean by this is I know some dudes that are like, the sex is good and they just fucking ignore everything else. I know one girl, she was like literally just these horrible red flags over and over again, but he was just like, she was so attracted
I had just gotten engaged
to him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that would definitely preclude some red flags, right? A lot of time. Okay, that makes sense.
I was engaged for the first time and very in love, and I was like, maybe we got engaged fast. Maybe we're just having issues. Maybe we need to like work through this shit.
Rock bottom was, in general, what were the things that described rock bottom?
Cheating.
Okay. Was it the first time? The third time? Was it the not apology for it? What was it?
It was the repeat behavior.
So it's the second time you caught him cheating.
That was like the worst.
Yeah. Where was the rock bottom for you?
The first time.
The first time. And then the second time.
Actually, The first time, because it wasn't physical. Just the first time were like actions that were like not okay.
Yeah.
Emotional cheating.
Okay.
Rock bottom was when I gave him a chance to cut that shit out, and then I found out that it was happening.
Pervasive. Probably more than you thought.
Yes.
Okay. Then the decision to take action to move out of it. What was it? Was it the rock bottom that caused it, or did that go on for a little while, or what was it that made you just get?
I wound up going to therapy for a while.
Okay. Would you credit therapy for the reason why you ended the relationship?
No.
Okay.
No. Therapy helped me like understand what all of this stuff that we're talking about is.
Yeah.
'Cause I had no fucking idea. I had no fucking idea.
Helps, right?
But then it also helped us too. Like I actually thought that we were like really in a good spot, but then it fucking happened a third time.
Yeah.
And that's, I was like, I have to fucking.
Hey, I don't know if this is a good person. I don't know if you're right about what you said before, but you don't deserve this. I do know that.
No, I know I don't deserve it. And at that point, I realized this is not about me, because I blamed myself for a long fucking time. And I blamed myself for a long time. I thought it was me.
I know this is going to sound a little cold, but do you watch any sports, football, basketball, anything like that?
Like casually, like nothing. I don't keep up with it.
In football, there's a term. I love this term. It's actually from baseball. It's called wins against replacement. And it's like it's not how much do you pay Tom Brady. It's how much do you pay Tom Brady versus a mid-level quarterback. Does that make sense? And so in our situation, like for me, looking at everyone else, trust me, who's watching this episode, looking at you, the idea, like again, like I said, I had Playmate of the Year sitting here telling us about how she had been cheated on multiple times, and we're all just looking at each other like, what in the blue fuck are you? You got cheated on. Because in my mind, her wins against replacement for who she can get is the fucking president. Like there's no one she couldn't get. And I feel the same way about you. So like for somebody watching this from outside looking in, they would see you and they'd be like, why would you ever tolerate that? No, I know why. I know. You don't have to explain it. If you bid that, if you can't choose who you love, I totally get it. The attraction's not a choice. I understand why. But you have to understand from the standpoint of outside looking in, like how you might look at a girl and be like, man, it just puts all this pressure on me. I get FOMO seeing this perfect looking girl. There's a bunch of girls that look at you and they're like, man, she's perfect, blah, blah, blah. And then they hear that you stayed in a relationship where a dude was treating you like this. Do you know how many dudes out there are like biting their fucking nails? The idea that you got cheated on. And I'm not going to say anything bad about this dude because I don't know him, but you got cheated on. The idea how angry that makes these motherfuckers. You want to know, they're going to go to the gym after they watch this episode. They're going to go put a PR on the bench and they're going to hit this. Can't believe this motherfucker cheated on her. Like seriously, they may use that for their motivation. So you have to understand part of it, when we talk about imposter syndrome, you deserve whatever it is that you accomplish. You do, because you went and got it.
And I know that.
And you don't deserve to get cheated on.
No one does. And I, like you were saying, like I loved this person so fucking much. Of course, And but I also realized that all of these things triggered my abandonment issues.
Okay.
And that's what I had to work on in my own self-development, because there's something wrong with having abandonment issues. Everyone has their own shit. Like I lost my father. I've had problems. Like I have my own shit. But what I realized is like the fact that I wasn't chosen or I was betrayed and all that stuff, it just resurfaced the stuff that I like in the back of my mind, it's going to happen again. And so I think the need to fix it in my mind, something like made it feel okay, because I'm like, okay, if I can fix it, I'm like doing what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
Or he won't leave if I can fix it, if I can make it better. You know what I mean? And that's where narcissists and people who are maybe codependent get trapped, or empaths and narcissists get trapped. You
would be codependent. He would be narcissist. Yes.
Right. And I don't mean codependent where I need a man. That's not what I mean by codependency. I mean like I seek connection and relationship. So I want to fix that so badly, because that's what was taken from me my entire life. So it's just like, it's a trigger. So you get hurt, you want to fix it. You want to fix it. And that's all I wanted to do.
For sure.
Over and over again. And then couple that with gaslighting, you're fucking stuck in a vicious cycle for God knows how long. And I just kept getting validation that, okay, I can make it better. I can like not get cheated on. And then also like I was probably a little low-key embarrassed. So.
Okay. So a couple things. Personality disorder is different from a mood disorder. So if somebody was bipolar, that's a mood disorder, meaning sometimes they're bipolar, sometimes they're not bipolar. Mm-hmm. If somebody has narcissism, they're a narcissist all the time for the rest of their life.
And I can't, I'm not going to put in rain that this person was a narcissist.
No. Well, I'm
just a disclaimer. I'm not.
No, but what I'm saying is look at a couple things, right? Mm-hmm. A pervasive level of cheating and narcissistic tendencies, it's not that you're like, oh, I blame myself because I could have changed him. You couldn't have changed him. He can't change ever for anyone. That's the part, if it is narcissism.
If
it is narcissism, it's a personality disorder.
Right.
That's the thing where a lot of people get really caught up on this. An inability to take responsibility for your actions repeatedly is a function of a cluster B type personality disorder. And so that would be the situation. Once you come to one of the things that came to my realization when I dealt with something similar to this, it wasn't that she didn't love me, is that she didn't love the guy before me. She doesn't love the guy she's with now. She didn't love her dog. She didn't love her mom. She doesn't love anything. She's not capable of it. And I'm not saying that in a spiteful way. I'm saying it because there's some people that have a genetic mutation where they're just different like that.
Right.
Do you understand
so
what I'm saying?
what would you say for the person who seems to find remorse after they do these kinds of things, but then a few months goes by and it happens again and again?
Again, that's narcissistic
Right.
remorse. Yeah, it would be pretty standard narcissistic behavior.
Yeah.
The remorse actually is part of the narcissism because you're so beneath them. They're like, oh, pity, like, oh, sorry, saddle you, but I'm not going to do anything. It's almost like a fucking, rock star leaves and then some girl like trips and falls while she's trying to get his autograph. And it's like, oh, that sucks for them. And just walks the fuck off. That's essentially the level of remorse you're getting. That's what you're receiving.
Right.
It's not real remorse. It's not anything worth even. And rule number, remember I tell you about the rules, right? Rule number one is we don't listen to the words. Whatever words that this guy's giving you, whatever person who's out there dealing with a situation like this, those words mean nothing. The only thing that matters that are the actions. Okay.
100%.
So let's make it a little bit lighter. Okay. I ask every guest about this. So about monogamy. So here's the situation.
I just had to talk about monogamy today.
In this situation with this dude, let's just go back in time when you guys first met. Would you have been comfortable with an open relationship with this guy?
No.
Would you have been comfortable in a relationship where, just not an open, just 100% monogamy? That's the only way you.
Well, when you go into it with a monogamous idea, that's the grounds that we went in.
Have you ever been in a relationship that was extra monogamous in any way?
I've always been in monogamous relationships.
Okay, cool. Got it. Have you ever dated someone casually for a long period of time knowing that they were seeing someone else or you were seeing someone else?
No.
You just go relationship.
Either relationship or I'm single.
Relationship or you're single. Okay, got it. All right, so here's the reason why. Do you believe that monogamy is the natural state for Homo sapiens?
No,
Okay,
not anymore.
Why do you not believe that?
Because I just don't see, what's the divorce rate at this point?
53%.
I knew you would know exactly the percentage.
78% of divorces are initiated by who?
The female.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's so funny they bring this up because I literally just had a conversation with somebody about this morning. Because after what I went through and then the current state of like the people who I'm meeting and whatever over the last year, it's making me wonder because I'm seeing so many more open relationships. I'm seeing so much more polyamory. And I'm like, I don't think it's for me. I really don't think it's for me. And I personally just want a monogamous relationship.
Yeah, of course.
there was even a point in my relationship where I'm like, fuck, is this what needs to happen?
Right.
I was that detached where I'm like, fuck, like, is this what it is? Sorry, my voice is cracking.
No, it's fine.
But, I just don't know. Like, are we working into something that's like, is the wheel broken?
No,
like
the wheel's always been the same. The wheel's been the same for the last 300,000 years.
So I don't know. I find myself having this conversation more and more because I'm actually liking to get different perspectives. And I'm not the person where I used to be where somebody would tell me that. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. People just shouldn't cheat. People should be like with one woman, one man. I'm like, you know what? Do what works for you.
So I agree that if you're in a monogamous relationship or if you're married, you shouldn't cheat. 100%.
Yes.
Because you have broken a promise.
Right. That's what you two went in on.
And I will not, like we said in the code of conduct in the U.S. military, I will not lie, cheat, or steal, and I will not tolerate anyone amongst us who does. So the lying is the problem more than the cheating,
yes.
right? However, when I look at the anthropological record, I just see over and over cases where you have societies where a few men are having sex with all the women, and then the men at the bottom are having sex with no one. In fact, there's a study that came out a couple years ago. 26% of men have had zero sexual partners in the last year, and something close to like 30-something% of men have had no sexual partners after the age of 18 before they turn 30. They separate just men between 18 and 30, which means that there's a bunch of guys at the top, really good looking guys with the rented Lambo and the fake watch, who are sleeping with a lot of women.
I don't like those guys.
Right. But you understand.
But that is the, yes.
You don't like those guys, but they still end up around here somewhere. Like they're not doing it because it's not effective. They're doing it because it is. That style works on somebody, right?
Yes.
So it's the answer, and again, there's no debate on this. I'm sorry. The answer is Homo sapiens live a lifestyle of polygamy interspersed with periods of monogamy.
Yes.
That's it.
I agree with you.
There's no argument against it. This is just essentially this is the way we've always been, and that's the way we always be. We usually with the caveman, it was probably like 3 years where they'd have a couple pair bonding, but sometimes longer than that, sometimes shorter than that, whatever. This whole idea with the penguin brings the pebble to the person they're pair bonded forever. Yes. That is not true. That same penguin has sex with a different female the next season. Please go look it up. That shit is not.
Just broke my heart.
There's a few like albatross, like elephants, where they do stay together forever, but for the most part that is not common practice. So it's just interesting to me when I hear that. You can still hear that. Here's the thing. The problem is when you duck your head in the sand and act like what I said isn't true.
Yeah, no, and that's where people get fucked up, because I was ducking my head in the sand for a while, like when I was younger, because I never wanted to think about that being the case, because I grew up watching Disney princess movies and thinking that my Prince Charming was just going to come along and it was going to be great and we'd be together forever and la la la.
We're going to go down a real hole. The reason why you saw those Disney princess movies is because they wanted to encourage a family lifestyle.
Yes.
Because family lifestyle encourages consumerism.
Yes.
One of the things is because when now you're in a family, now you buy 2 cars, you buy a bunch of diapers, you buy extra food, you buy Drano, you buy all this equipment.
You buy Drano.
You buy a house, you buy all kinds of stuff, you get a dog. Having a family promotes consumerism. So network television and the Hollywood industrial complex, whatever you want to do, they implore for you to have a normal family life, for you to get married when you're young. That's where Disney princesses come from, and this whole idea of the nuclear family. That's the reason why. You can be happy. By the way, if you fall in love and get married, good for you. You can be happy and not be in that type of situation.
Yeah, so that's why I say, like, you have to do what's best for you and what you want. There's no wrong way. Because I still want marriage and kids and a family.
Yes.
That's just what I want.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. But some people don't want that, and that's okay too. And then after, my ideologies have opened up where I'm like, you know what? I don't know what this looks like anymore. Like I don't know what the right thing is, but I'll know it when I feel it.
Yeah.
And you just have to go with that. You can't just go do something because society tells you to do something. You don't have to get married by 25 because you should have kids by a certain age. Like, you don't have to do any of that shit.
But the other part of it, you also need to recognize why we feel the way we feel about the things we feel. Like, I do not believe in free will. I don't think there's any free will. I think every single preference you think there's free will, go make yourself eat a poop ice cream. You can't. Oh, you can't? You don't like like poop? Why not? Oh, I thought you had free will. Oh, I guess you don't have free will. No, you don't. No, none of us have free will. It's like, oh, I like chocolate. Oh, I like vanilla. Well, I don't know if you know this, but chocolate ice cream is actually a derivative of vanilla. We're all eating the same thing. Oh my God, I'm not a Republican, I'm a Democrat. Oh, wait a second. We got to vote for 2 70-year-old men who've both been accused of sexual assault and made racist comments. What a variety. Incredible. Because we have free fucking will that we had to pick between the 2 74-year-old. No, man, we don't have free will, man. Like our preferences come from evolution. That's essentially what I believe. This is the last one that I thought was interesting. Hormones and behavior. I thought you're interesting. I've seen men change significantly when I'm trying to think how to go about this the right way. I've seen dudes that go and get like legal prescriptions for like TRT, and I'm asking you this because I know you are in the fitness community, and some dudes use these supplements. They get normal from TRT, but then they get estrogen blockers also, and they get like a normal hormone estrogen level. And I see some dudes who abuse steroids. And their free test is like 3,800, something like that. And they start acting fucking crazy, right? I'm friends with some of these dudes. They act fucking, because there's no estrogen blocker in the world that's going to be able to keep up. And their estrogen levels are like through the roof. Have you seen some stuff like this?
Yes.
What is your commentary on this? Is this like a seasonal thing? Like, what is it? Dude, I used to live in Texas. Every spring when dudes started roiding up, it was fight season. I used to be a bouncer.
I think it's different because, to be honest with you, I try my best not to consume myself in the bodybuilding industry and surround myself with too many of those people anymore because I just don't like seeing it.
So you have seen it?
Yes.
And it is a real thing that I'm just noticing.
I mean, yes, I have a lot of friends who take steroids.
Yeah.
And I've seen behavior changes for sure.
Isn't it crazy?
It's wild. That's another reason why I'm like, I don't ever want to date a bodybuilder.
Got it. You only dated one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to like, I don't want to say I'll never, but it worries me because I've seen abuse of anabolic steroids.
Of course.
So that's all. But it's crazy to me because your hormone, I mean, it does fuck with your hormones.
Yeah.
I mean, even a regular prep fucks with your hormones because you're manipulating your body so much.
Sure.
So it just worries me about people who take steroids. And I know it's so prevalent and so common.
You noticed.
Yeah.
You've been to What Republic?
I've been to What Republic. Yes.
I used to joke with my friends. I was like, dude, if I get any bigger, they're going to hire me at What Republic.
I've never dealt with abuse. I will put that out there, like from somebody with steroids, like never. But I know enough people who I can see the changes when they're taking these, and obviously it can be a little crazy. So
beautiful. Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want? So first of all, we didn't really even talk about this that much. Your training regimen. How often is it? When you're on, when you're off, how much is it? How intense?
When I'm prepping?
Yeah.
Or when I'm prepping, I was training 6 days a week, strength training, and 6 days a week cardio.
Okay.
My cardio ranged from 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
What is it? What was your cardio?
It was like the stairs or
fucking hate cardio.
I learned to find some kind of like therapy in the suffering.
Yeah, fuck that. I hate cardio.
But I love it because it taught me discipline. And even when I was like training, I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going to reverbiage this. I'm like, I get to do this. And I get to not sit there, obviously. I get to like suffer through this for 45 minutes in my own thoughts and do some like audits.
You want to do basketball cardio with me?
No. Just kidding.
All right.
But it just changed. I learned to use those times for like some big self-development, and over the course of 6 months it really helps it. But off season I'm training like 5 days a week, cardio 4 to 5 times a week.
Okay. Yeah, that cardio was always the hard part for me.
It's hard. It's the hardest thing for me to do.
Dude, I will tell you, man, the thing about test and steroids, that's so crazy because I have TRT. I'm 43 years old. And a lot of people don't believe I'm this old, but the thing that I just had them take me back up to like a normal level. It's life-changing, bro. Like I can eat anything.
I have a friend who's doing it too.
Yeah, I can eat fucking anything. And I'm like so ready to go. I work out 7 days a week. I have to keep myself out of the gym. I play basketball 7 days. Like I'm trying to kill myself. It's crazy. Yeah. But this is the other thing that I noticed is that like I used to see guys, I was wondering if these guys were taking something and like, no, they were. Like I know now, dude, after seeing the difference, like just going from not having six-pack to having a six-pack.
More people are taking it than you
it's fucking, it's like 10 million men are taking this stuff. Do you have anything you want to promote?
Well, my podcast is here. I'm diving back into it more and more because during my prep I was so fucking busy. So we're trying to launch that once a week. I'm still trying to network with more females out in Vegas. We're going to host some networking events here, which are going to be really exciting. And I just launched the Fit and Fearless mentorship programs, which is the mind and body mastery programs that I am personally mentoring women on to help them get out of such shitty situations, find their confidence again, just overall improve their lifestyles while also having a new health and fitness regimen and just making their lives better. So that's like my little baby project.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super exciting.
That's really, really good. You know what? If you ever want me on your podcast and you have somebody who's like hardcore monogamous, I think would be a great debate.
Oh God.
Can we do that?
Yes.
Let's do that.
I'm down.
Let's do that sometime. I would very much love to have it. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this, thank you very much. If you made it to the end of the podcast, I can't believe how many people, I'm looking at the view times, I'm looking at the numbers on analytics, and I really appreciate it. I feel nothing but gratitude for the way that this has grown. So thank you guys so much for watching this. You guys are sitting there and listening to all this stuff, and I get mentions from all these people. I had a dude walk up to me the other day when I was at Omnia, and I swear I thought this dude fucking hated me. I've always thought this guy hated me. I thought he was literally going to come up and say, like, dude, get the fuck out of my table. That's what I thought he was going to say. He goes, man, I loved your podcast. I thought it was so great. It just gave me chills. I don't do this for me. I want to do this for you guys. So if you're somebody you want to see, like I said, I really want an astrophysicist on here. I'm trying to find one. There's not a ton of them at what is the UNLV? There's not a ton of them there, but we do have some physicists over there. And then also I have an ER doctor who's going to come on here. I have a doctor of pharmacology who's going to come on. We're going to talk about all different expertise. So I'm really excited to have you guys here and to do more stuff. So again, thank you so much. Make sure you follow this incredibly accomplished young lady right here who deserves all the fucking accolades that she gets. There is no imposter right here. And we will see you guys next week.